You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
From the Israel Sports Radio Studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Loose Live! Here's your host, me, and Raphael Gellar. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well out there in our nation's capital. It's Loose Live. Exciting NBA Finals action last night. Game 1 goes to the Thunder. Fairly convincing fashion. Kevin Durant shines in his first NBA Finals game. Outscores LeBron James, not only overall, but in the big fourth quarter. LeBron maybe pinned as a GOAT because he only scored 7 points in the fourth. We'll get to that later on. And, of course, still fresh off the NHL Finals, where the Kings were victorious the first Stanley Cup and won in 6 games. So we're going to have a hockey expert on tomorrow to discuss all that. This is Marty Berder's swan song. Does he go out as a loser? But here right now is in studio, as he is most of the time. Wasn't here on Monday, but he is today. Raphael Gellar. How you doing, Raphael?
I'm good, Ari. How you doing?
Doing great. And let's get things started. Tell us about our first guest.
Our first guest is Jason Blesnick. He's been on the show a few times. We talked to him about the NBA draft. He is the founder of NBADraftChat.com. which is one of the biggest draft websites in the United States. And we've had a little problem getting in touch with him, but we think it should be fine. We're going to talk to him, of course, about the draft that is coming up June 28th, which is now in 15 days. I believe that means it would be a Thursday night or Friday night? Thursday night. Thursday the 28th, a very, very big draft, a very exciting draft. And we're looking forward to talking to Jason. And after that, we will have on Mitch Shapiro, who's the radio director. At 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we will have on Diana Redmond from the Israeli national soccer team, the women's team. They're traveling to Europe on tomorrow, actually, to compete in the Euro Cup or in the qualifying. And then at 11:30, 6:30 p.m., we will be having
Jim
Williams, who's on the road, I might add. We will not be calling him at his normal Examiner office. Probably a first time here. And then after that, we have a special guest, Jerry Kresiak. We're going to figure out how to pronounce that in the next 15, 20 minutes, from ESPN.com, the Baseball Insider. So a very exciting show here today, as usual, on a nice Wednesday afternoon in the capital, Jerusalem, Israel. Very sunny outside, very hot, kind of like how it always is. As Ari mentioned, the Thunder go up last night. Big game. Didn't watch it. First time I haven't watched a tip-off of an NBA playoff game in a month. It's a weird feeling for me. But I'll be back. I think Ari and I will watch game 2. So we'll be able to give you guys better insight. But yeah, as Ari said, LeBron pretty much got dominated by KD. And that's okay, though, because it's just okay. It's game 1. We don't want to make too much of it. And A-Rod last night hit his 23rd career Grand Slam, passing Lou Gehrig, which is amazing, or joining Lou Gehrig. So he's still doing something. Another big news story going on right now. So Jerry Sandusky trial started, and the former coach who really started all this as a graduate assistant testified last night. That was very, very, very intense, and Andre Ethier was signed by the Dodgers for an $85 million 5-year contract. So that's they now got Ethier and Kemp, signed for a long, long time. It's an interesting move there. All right, what do you think about that money? That's a lot of money for 2 guys.
Yeah, we were watching part of the Rocha talking about this. I don't know if Ethier is proven enough. They're giving him that money based on his potential, but I think. I don't know. The Dodgers are in a perilous financial position after the whole bankruptcy thing. Magic Johnson, of course, taking them over with a $2 billion purchase, and perhaps they want to make a big splash. The Dodgers are doing pretty good right now, even though Kemp was a little bit banged up, really headlining the National League West Division. And I think they want to show they're serious, and if this is a sign to the fans, perhaps, but I still don't know if Ethier is worth that type of money.
Right.
I think you have to make a couple more All-Star games before you get that.
Right. And some more news. We're going to do a little news before we call Jason Blaznik. The USA last night in World Cup qualifying, soccer, disappointing tie against Guatemala. Not a very strong team. 10 minutes left. The USA gave up a big goal. The USA have not been playing well lately, that's for sure, under a new manager. Klinsmann. So we'll see what happens there. In in Euro last night, very, very fun, exciting games. Russia-Poland was supposed to be very, it was actually a lot of clashing between the fans, and because of all the history there, of course, Russia occupying Poland and all that, a lot of fighting before, a lot of people getting arrested, but the game ended in a 1-1 draw, so very interesting match there. And tonight we have pretty much the game of the tournament in the group stage. We're going to be having Netherlands against Germany. So they're pretty much probably the number 1 team against the number 2 team, if you want to put Spain at 3. Very, very exciting game, 2:45 Eastern Time, 9:45 local time. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that game. Portugal also has a huge game tonight. They need to win If they do not win tonight, it is going to be very bad. They're going to be eliminated, and there'll be a lot of hype. You know, Cristiano Ronaldo is kind of the LeBron of soccer. He can't really seem to help his team kind of get over the hump with his Portugal national team. They have a very, very big match tonight against Denmark. It's going to be very exciting to see what happens. That starts, of course, at 7 p.m. local time and 12 p.m. Eastern. So as I mentioned, though, that will be, I believe, in Ukraine, and then the Netherlands-Germany game will be in Poland. So it's going to be a very exciting match there. So I just wanted to keep you up to date with that. And, of course, our show will be going over 7 p.m. local time, so we'll keep you updated on the Portugal match until we end our show. In more news, the Roger Clemens trial continues to get very interesting with Roger Clemens' wife now joining all the fun. And if for all our listeners in America, very big tragedy in the Auburn, Alabama area. 3 players getting killed. The Alabama police saying that they're going to hunt him down and see what happens there. Very sad story. 3 guys in the Alabama team are dead. Interesting story about Floyd Mayweather. I kind of want to get Ari's thoughts on this. The judge is deciding whether to ease Mayweather's time so that Mayweather can come back to fight, because according to a lot of doctors, Mayweather is losing his muscle tone. His jail cell is a legitimate jail cell. He's not getting any special treatment. It's a very it's actually,
look at that.
It actually looks small. We're looking at a picture of it right now. I believe I read it's 7 by 12. That's pretty rare that a guy who's a quad millionaire has his own jail cell that's not special. Look at Mubarak in Egypt. He has a palace in his jail. But yeah, it appeared he eats 3,000 to 4,000 calories in a normal day when he was training for fights, and now he's only consuming 800 calories. So, Ari, what do you think about it? Do you think the judge is going to let him off earlier so that his boxing career jail can continue? I think there was a interesting quote saying, where do you think he was going? The 4 seasons? I mean, he was going to jail. Things like this happen in jail, but this could end his career. So you're more of the boxing guy. So what do you think, Ari?
I don't know. It's pretty funny. Well, I don't know. In any other profession, jail is going to affect that profession. If a guy's a construction worker and he goes to jail for 5 months, that affects his ability to make a living. So I guess it's the same thing here about him physically getting weaker because of the conditions and so on. But
sorry to interrupt you. All right, we just got good word from our friend Jason that he's ready to go. But yeah, all right, no, continue with your thoughts about that.
Well, I think that the judge, it's said right there. It's not the 4 seasons. It's jail. They get, if Floyd didn't want his money influence or affected, he shouldn't have committed the crime of beating his wife.
Right. I mean, there's pretty much no other way to put it. I said it best. It's not like we're talking about traffic violations here, something that's not serious. We're talking about hitting your wife. So, interesting to see what happens there. Just a couple more things before we call Jason. Interesting story. Speaking of what Ari just said, a completely opposite story. A guy, very, very big story, was written by Rick Riley at ESPN. A former high school football star goes to jail for a rape, and 11 years later gets exonerated from the crime. And now the Seahawks, the Raiders, all these teams are trying him out because this guy was an All-American in '99. Was supposed to be the next greatest lineman or defensive player. Went to jail, continued to work out in jail. I think in football, sometimes guys can get bigger if they go to jail because they do get to work out. They do get to go out. And maybe, the speed and that kind of stuff, endurance they might not have, but the power and all that. So that's a very interesting story there. And we're just trying to keep you updated on all stories. And I think we did a good job, Ari, with baseball, soccer, football, basketball, of course, hockey. Yeah. We did good. So that was fun start. We usually don't do that, but we did today. And now we're going to call up Jason. I'm going to talk to him about the draft. Ari might spit some draft history knowledge because that's what he does here.
Right.
Our next guest at 10:30, Ari will cover with him the NBA Finals. He'll go into detail with Mitch Shapiro about that, and I'll be here as well just to give it my thoughts. But Ari will do that. So we're going to call Jason right now and talk to him about the draft, which is very exciting. One of my favorite things to talk about. We've had him on 3 times before. So now it's really the deal. I mean, Combine's gone and gone. How do you say?
Went and gone.
Went and gone.
Came and gone.
Came and gone. Portsmouth Invitational came and everything's gone. It's now time for the draft. So there'll be a lot better emphasis on what round players will be going. We'll be talking sleepers. We'll be talking this. We'll be talking that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And here he is. So we're going to put him on the line for you right now. Hi, am I speaking with Jason?
Yes.
Hey, Jason, you're on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. It's Raphael. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I was just telling our listeners, Portsmouth is gone. The Combine has come and gone, and now it is time to really, focus on the draft and nail what's going to happen. So I want to start off and talk to you about your top 5 because last time we had you on was May, maybe it was in late April. So. I know a lot of people. Andre Drummond was number 2 for all of it seems like February or March, but he's out of the number 2 now. So what's your top 5 right now?
Well, number 1, of course, I'd have Anthony Davis going to New Orleans. Everybody agrees with that. The thing with Charlotte makes them so tough is that they're trying to trade their number 2 pick. I mean, as of right now, I assume they're going to probably take Thomas Robinson. Thomas Robinson's the one guy that could contribute the most quickly for the Bobcats. Washington, I really have them taking Andre Drummond with the 3rd overall pick. Andre Drummond's dropped 20 pounds in the last couple of weeks. He looks a lot more in shape, and from what I saw from the Combine, he has a 7'6" wingspan, and he actually measured in at a even 7 feet tall, so I think he'd make a great addition at the 3rd pick.
Okay.
The 4th and 5th is where it gets a little tricky because Brad Beal swears he's going to be a top 4 pick. Brad Beal said he's only going to work out for his top 4 picks, and that's it. So if you agree with that, Brad Beal should be taking the 4th spot, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't have Brad Beal that high. I think Kid Gilchrist would be a great pick for the Cavs to play with Kyrie Irving, who they also played together at St. Patrick's High School in New Jersey, so they already got some chemistry. And the Sacramento Kings with the 5th pick, I'd have to take Harrison Barnes from North Carolina. I think you put him next to DeMarcus Cousins, Isaiah Thomas, and Tyreek Evans. It really gives the Sacramento Kings a good starting 5 rotation that can make them a threat in the Western Conference.
Right. Interesting about Drummond. I didn't hear that. Of course, I'm not an NBA draft guru like you. I just know what I read online and what I've seen from players. So Andre Drummond loses 20 pounds. I think that's going to help him. I know my uncle's a huge UConn fan, has been for 40, 50 years, and he was very disappointed by Drummond at UConn this year, along with Boatwright, along with Lamb. And that's really who I want to talk about next. Jeremy Lamb, a guy who no one really knows what to expect from him. A great scorer. I mean, no one can argue he can't put the ball in the hoop, but he seemed to kind of shy away this year at UConn, have some times where he didn't want the ball or he got scared to have the ball, and he couldn't really lead his team to victory. UConn really got lucky getting into the tournament. They pretty much just got in because they were UConn.
Right.
I think they had an under 500 Big East record or maybe 500 even. So where do you see Jeremy Lamb going, and do you see him as a lottery pick still?
I see him still as a lottery pick. I mean, I've seen a lot of other draft experts ranking him in the top 10. I really don't agree with that anymore. After I've seen some of the other caliber talent, I'm really seeing Deion Waiters from Syracuse climbing the ranks very quickly. Jeremy Lamb, I'd still take him between 10 and 15. If he falls to the 10th spot and New Orleans could take him, that'd actually work out good for them. If they lose Eric Gordon this summer to offseason to free agency, being able to replace him with Jeremy Lamb and Anthony Davis would be an incredible way to fix it. But Jeremy Lamb, like you said, is very tough. He's an incredible shooter from the three-point line. I mean, he can shoot almost on consistency as like Reggie Miller did back in the 90s, but at other times he does get lost in transition. I'm a little bit worried about how he's going to deal when you have a very aggressive defender like a Derrick Rose or a Russell Westbrook on Jeremy Lamb. Is he going to get shy and start drifting into the corner, not fighting for his shots? But Jeremy Lamb, in the individual workouts, he really does have to show something. I mean, from what I've seen from his workouts, what I've heard about him, he's not impressing too many people. His stock is dropping. He'll still be in the top 15 just purely off the shooting ability. But Lamb, if he doesn't start, developing his ball handling and his playmaking skills better, you could see him fall maybe even out of the lottery selection.
Sorry about that, Jason. We lost you there for a second, but we're back with you. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Jeremy. I mean, a very interesting UConn team.
Mm-hmm. But all the UConn guys this year just seem too timid. I mean, I say Calhoun was a big part of that, but when you watch the UConn games, Jeremy Lamb just didn't seem to be fighting as much as he should. Andre Drummond, as we can see now, he was overweight. He just dropped 20 pounds because he's actually fighting for something. It just seemed UConn in general wasn't fighting that hard this season.
Right, and I want to talk a little bit about Thomas Robinson. Sorry about that guy blocking his name. Because, last year he wasn't in any mock drafts, obviously. Was really a reserve on last year's Kansas team. This year, suddenly number 2. I mean, I know he had a great year. I know with drafts, that's really kind of how it works. They don't even look at your whole body of work. They just kind of look at what you've done recently. But do you buy that he's that good? I mean, I know that he is good, obviously. I've seen him play a lot in college, and I know the reason he maybe wasn't, not as good or didn't have the numbers was because he simply didn't play. But, I mean, do you really think that he's worth a number 2 pick with all these other guys out there when we, 10 years down the road? Don't you think guys like Harrison Barnes and Bradley Beal or, I don't know, we could go on and on. We'll have more all-star appearances than him. Do you think he's worthy of the number 2 pick with all the other great players in the draft?
If he was the number 2 pick, I would say no. I mean, I think the Charlotte Bobcats would be smarter getting rid of the 2 pick. I think Thomas Robinson, solely based off of this season, if you just base him off of this season, yeah, he should be a top 5 pick. But if you look at, like you said, his sophomore and his freshman year, this guy maxed out his potential. I mean, he only measured in at the combine, I think, at 6'7". With shoes, he's only 6'8.5". I mean, he's a very undersized power forward. He does have incredible leaping ability, but his shot is inconsistent. He can't create his own shot, and then his back to the basket repertoire is very below average. He solely relies on his pure athletic ability, that he can score easy in transition because he's very fast for somebody his size. He can out-jump most guys. He can, he's a great shot blocker. But like you said, 10 years down the road, am I going to say he's one of the best power forwards in the league? No, I'm going to say he's exactly what Chris Humphries is now. He's a good power forward who you'll probably see in the NBA, as a top 10 rebounder and top 10 shot blocker. But he's not worth the second-round pick right now. I mean, I'd rather have Harrison Barnes in 10 years. I'd rather have Perry Jones in 10 years. I'd rather have Brad Beal in 10 years than Thomas Robinson because I feel, as the junior and the old guy in the first round, that he maxed out his potential already.
Right, and I mean, Chris Humphries was a Raptor for a long time. That's my team, so I got to watch him a lot. Of course, he's done great things with the Nets. I mean, he has those games where he has 22 points and 15 rebounds, but then he has also games where he has 5 points and 6 rebounds, and that's the reason why he hasn't been an All-Star yet. But I mean, if that's what you're comparing him to, then why even take him in the first? Why take him in the lottery if that's what you're expecting of him? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, because right now you look at what he's coming off of. He's coming off of an incredible season, so everybody's got that in their mind, like, this guy's in a groove, he's averaging 15. So that's what they're looking at, but yet when you look at a player, you have to look at what he's going to do against bigger and more athletic players. There's no way a Kevin Garnett's going to let Thomas Robinson do what he did in college to him. It's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you have veterans like Tim Duncan who's going to take him to school. I mean, these are men in the NBA, and I know Thomas Robinson's a junior. He's one of the older guys that come out of college, but when you go against these veterans who've been there for years, Thomas Robinson has nothing to throw at him. He can jump, and that's it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I agree with you. Completely. I wish we had more time. We do have 9 more minutes, but we could go on forever. I want to stay with the first round and talk about some players that, in my opinion, or I don't know if my opinion, but gained a lot of hype. I'm curious to see what you say. Here's an interesting guy. out of Weber State, you know who I'm going to say, Damian Lillard, number 6 on this mock draft that we're looking at right now. Out of Weber State, I don't know. I know a lot of people are saying that he's kind of like the Rodney Stuckey guard, except more talented. But I don't. Do you take a Rodney Stuckey guard like at number 6? Does Portland do that?
I wouldn't. I've seen Rodney Stuckey play, and I went to the University of Northern Colorado, so I got him to see play him a lot in the Big Sky Conference, and even in the NBA. I'm not a Stuckey fan, and when I see Damian Lillard, I know he's listed as a point guard, but he's a scoring point guard. He's going to look to score first and set up second. And the Blazers drafting him, it's not like they're really building their team. I mean, they already have some great talent with Marcus Aldridge there, and they got Nicholas Batum if he stays, and Jamal Crawford and all these guys. They need a point guard to get them the ball. They shouldn't draft a point guard number 6 overall who wants to score 20 points and only average 2 assists. I mean, Portland should really look at Deion Waiters. I really like him a lot. If Bradley Beal falls to them at the 6th spot, which I think he could, Bradley Beal would be a great pickup at the shooting guard. You could put Raymond Felton at the point, Bradley Beal. I mean, Damian Lillard is by far the best point guard in the draft. Is he worth the number 6 pick? Absolutely not. Okay,
and then here's another guy who I got to see him play a ton because I'm an IU guy. Myers Leonard, I know he's 7'1". I know he has the potential. I know, but I just don't understand this whole lottery thing. I'm hoping you can make some sense out of it.
Yeah, I see him. I've been looking at different lotteries and just reading things. And Myers Leonard, his name is always popping up in a top 10 pick, usually between 10 and 12.
Right.
Like you, I'm not a Myers Leonard fan. I know at the combine he's the only one that actually measured in at a legitimate 7 feet tall. I mean, he's got a very long wingspan, big hands. I mean, he's a good center. But as coming out so young, I really feel like he's going to get bullied around a lot, and I can't see him contributing quickly in the NBA. I know a lot of people are just stuck on his site. 7'1" center doesn't come around every day. But for a top 10 pick, you should be able to get a guy that's going to contribute and be able to play this season, not a guy that might be able to play 2 or 3 years down the road.
Right, yeah, I completely agree. And a guy who's really fallen down the list since last, April, May, June, Terrence Jones, now not in the lottery anymore in most mock drafts. Could this guy be the sleeper of the first round? I mean, obviously his numbers weren't that good last year and blah, 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 but the potential and the talent is definitely there. And it looks like he's going right now to a good-ish team. I don't want to say a good team, but a team, like Minnesota, Dallas, Houston, Orlando, Denver, these teams that were either right in the cusp of the playoffs or the 6, 7, 8 seeds. So do you like him going to a team where he doesn't have to feel pressure to succeed and could, learn from some older guys? I love Terrence Jones. That's my opinion. I think any team that could get him, late in the first round would be a steal, but I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Terrence Jones, I'm very high on him too. I like him specifically because of his motor and his fire, his passion for the game. A guy that's going to keep coming at you more and more. What I'm seeing from Terrence Jones is he played the small forward in Kentucky, but after in the draft combine, he measured in at a real 6'9". He's a power forward. It's coming more and more clear as he's going through more workouts and he's playing up against more people. He's got to transition into the power forward spot. I think that's why his stock is dropping so low, because most people, when they see him, he's hanging out on the perimeter shooting threes. He's got to learn a post-up game now. I mean, he's 6'9", he's solid, he's big. He's going to have to develop into a power forward guy. He's going to have to develop a back-to-the-basket game, which he doesn't have right now. He has the capability to do that, but, going to a team, maybe if he falls to Dallas, he looks like the 17th pick, or if he goes to, if he falls all the way to Boston at 21. I mean, going to a team with some real coaching will help him develop. He needs to go to a Rick Carlisle or a Doc Rivers or Greg Popovich, a coach that's going to spend time with him and help him develop. But at the same time, I've heard Golden State just worked out Terrence Jones for the number 7th pick. I mean, they weren't impressed. They said that right away they're not going to draft him. But they're still top 10 teams looking at Terrence Jones, too. So as low as he is now, we could see him bump up to a lottery pick again.
Interesting. Now we have about 4 minutes left, so I kind of want to look at the second round, because the second round is always the most fun, in my opinion, because if you're a college basketball fan, such as me, and obviously you recognize all these guys. I mean, all these guys are big names, so it's kind of funny to see them as, a guy who was, maybe first team Big Ten going number 45. A guy who I really like, who's right now in the late 40s, late 50s, William Buford from Ohio State, I always called him the most underrated player in the country on our show throughout the year. We've had on a lot of great ESPN guests from college basketball. I would say, why doesn't Buford get more hype? And they would simply say it's not the talent or that, it's just the people around him, even Kraft, who's not necessarily the best offensive player, is just known for his defense. Of course, Sullinger and even Deshaun Thomas last year got more stardom than him. So what do you think of Buford in the second round and what he could bring to a team, maybe as one of those streaky shooter types?
Yeah, I agree completely with what you said. I mean, Buford's the kind of guy, he got lost behind everybody else. I mean, this guy is the veteran of the team. I mean, I'm pretty sure behind the scenes he was the voice of the team. He was telling everybody what to do, but being stuck behind Sullinger, being stuck behind Kraft, I mean, unless you're a true basketball fan, you're not going to usually see this guy. Is he a smart pick to take in the second round? He's a gamble because he's a very streaky shooter. I mean, I've seen him I've seen his body. He gets out of shape very quickly. He doesn't have big shoulders. I mean, IQ-wise, he's incredibly smart. He's probably got one of the highest basketball IQs in the draft. But athletically, he's not that impressive. Size-wise, he's only 6'5" at the combine. He only measured in about 6'4". So I mean, he's a tough player. I mean, he's worth a gamble in the mid to late second round. But I see William Buford more as an NBA D-leaguer and a foreign player than an NBA player.
Oh, we'll be happy to take him in Israel, of course. Okay, continuing with guys in the second round, interesting or big names, guys that people know about. How about Darius Johnson-Odom, a guy who was first team Big East this year, really had a breakout year. I mean, he was a senior, one of the only seniors. I guess there's a lot of seniors in the second round. That's not true, but still, a guy.
All seniors, I think.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think about him? I mean, he's interesting. Also, kind of a small guy, but what do you think?
Hello, can you hear us, Jason? Okay, looks like we lost connection there. We'll dial him up real quick, get him back on the line. And good stuff. Actually, I'm going to ask him. We'll have time for one or two more questions with Jason before I move on. And certainly good stuff to talk about the NBA draft. Okay, we're going to dial him up right now. And again, want to remind everyone to check out our store by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great gifts, hats, t-shirts, much more.
Hi, Jason. I think we lost you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So continue about Darius Johnson-Odom.
Johnson-Odom?
Right.
Yeah, Johnson-Odom is probably one of the quickest guys in the draft. There's a difference between quick and speed. Quick means you can juke a lot, and switch your direction. Odom is a short guy. He's only about 6'2", maybe 6'3", generous, but he's one of the he has the quickest feet I've seen. I've seen this guy play at Marquette. Incredible. I mean, he's one of the best spot-up shooters. He's good in transition because he's very quick leak out. I think he's like one of these hidden gems in the second round because Marquette, you never really heard of him this year. I mean, he's another guy that got stuck behind Jay Crowder and all these other guys. But
right.
if I was drafting in the second round, he'd be an early second round pick for me. It's purely off of his speed and what he could do. I mean, somebody with as quick as feet as him, he'll be able to guard the smaller guys on the perimeter. He'll be very able to stay in front of his defender. He's got a great shot. The only thing he has to work on is his point guard skills. He's one of these new point guards that rather shoot than pass. But 2 years down the road, give him a year in the D League, he'll be a pretty good point guard.
All right, Jason, last question before we let you go. Of course, the number one pick in the lottery goes to the NBA-owned New Orleans Hornets. So are you sure David Stern rigged the draft, or are you very sure?
I'm not saying anything about that. Lottery's completely random.
Sure. Just we don't get to see who actually gets the winning balls, and the NBA execs do, and it just happened the NBA-owned team got it. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, it was just priceless watching the Charlie Bobcat's face when it came out, too.
Oh, yeah. Cho just looked like he was going to cry.
Oh, yeah, because they were banking on this. I mean, because like we were talking earlier, the second-round pick, there's a big difference between Anthony Davis and Thomas Robinson, a huge difference. And
right.
The Bobcats looking brighter or looking a little bit duller now.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, right. But I think we have to go now. But I believe that we have you scheduled for the day before the draft to really talk more. How does that sound?
Sounds great. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Well, Jason, we'll
All
talk
right,
to you later on.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, that was Jason Blesnick from NBADraftChat.com giving his thoughts on the NBA draft. We're going to stay here, not break for a commercial, and bring up our next guest. We're going to talk some NBA Finals with Mitch Shapiro, who's with CBS Radio in Atlanta.
Sports director there.
Sports director there, 92.9 in Atlanta. So I'll catch up with Mitch and talk about the NBA Finals. Of course, thank everyone for listening to us here on IsraelSportsRadio.com, here on Lubus Live. And as we speak, good stuff there again from Jason. We thank him for being on. And I want to remind everyone to check out our store again by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. We have a lot of great items there. Hi, Mitch.
Yes.
Hi, Mitch. This is Ari Lewis with Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. How you doing out there?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Oh, we're doing wonderful. It's our pleasure to have on now the sports director of 92.9 CBS Radio in Atlanta, Mitch Shapiro, here on Lewis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com. Let's get right to it. Let's break down Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Thunder get the win at home. People will rip on LeBron James for only scoring 7 points in the fourth quarter. I would say that that's not necessarily the go. Maybe not. I mean, if he's averaging 7 points a quarter, he'll get to 28, which is about his average. But what did you think? Was that more the Thunder winning or the Heat losing?
Well, I think you got to measure that also up against the guy that we're all measuring against each other, LeBron and Kevin Durant. And Durant had 17 in that fourth quarter. So the knock on LeBron has been, he doesn't come through in the crunch, and we saw that he was able to do that in Game 6 and in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. Now here he is back where he was last year for the Heat. It's win or bust. I mean, and they know that. So it's one game, and obviously we all like to put too much stock into every little minutia of every little game. Hey, if tomorrow night LeBron goes for 10 points in the fourth quarter and Miami's able to steal the game and steal away home court advantage, no one's going to be talking about what happened last night in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well said there. And I think one of the things when you're looking at the box score that stands out with LeBron James, the 30 points, about his average, but a plus-minus of negative 11. And is there something else maybe on the defensive end that he's not doing as much as he can? Of course, he's matched up with Kevin Durant many of the times, and Durant torched him for a good portion of the game. So LeBron, does he have to step up? Actually, I mean, he has to step up his defense. Will he be able to, I guess is the question.
Well, I don't think there's any question that he can. I mean, he's one of the better defenders, certainly at his position, if not the best defender at his position in the league. But you got to look at what Durant does. I mean, when you compare Durant and LeBron, Durant's a guy who could shoot from the outside and also slash to the hoop. And LeBron, I think if the knock's been on him on anything, we talked about it during the offseason after they had failed in the finals last year against the Mavericks. He talked about posting up more. And, we saw a little bit of that against the Celtics at times, but I think he really needs to be more consistent and more dedicated to posting up. He's going to get fouled, and then the onus is on him to make the free throws at the line. That's one thing about Durant also. He makes a majority of his free throws. You look at what's happened to LeBron, if you want to put a knock on him and not being clutch, I think it's at the line in crunch time of games. But I don't think there's any question he can defend Durant, but you're going to have to be able to defend a guy who's going to be slashing to the basket as much as possible. That's what Oklahoma City does. That's what Westwood, did last night as well against Wade.
And, one of the things I want to get into, which in the midst of the 36-point pouring from Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook scores 27 points. A big part of that, he seemed to be fired up when he got in that little scrum with Shane Battier. This is kind of a general psychological question, but how sensitive are these players? I mean, this is an NBA Finals game. Does it really take a potential skirmish to fire a player up, or did he just use that as a little extra motivation? Because we're not used to seeing Westbrook's a great player, but we're not used to seeing him score 27 points, and this is the biggest stage of the NBA.
Well, first of all, I don't even know why they called a double technical. I thought that should have been a tee on Westbrook and Westbrook only, not on Battier.
Right.
Westbrook, that's his persona, I think. I mean, he gets fired up, and I think his team feeds off of it because, as great of a player as Durant is, Westbrook is the guy that kind of runs that show. Sometimes he doesn't run it as well as he can, but that's the thing with him is that he sometimes loses his emotions, and as a guy who's the court leader, especially in an NBA Finals, you got to be able to control your emotions. It didn't hurt him last night. Let's hope, if it goes 7 or however many games it goes, it doesn't come back to, burn him in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw this actually when the Heat were in the finals in 2006. One of the things that kept the Heat victorious, Shaquille O'Neal almost got a second technical by trying to chase down Jerry Stackhouse. Wade was able to calm him down and keep him in the game. So these things, losing your cool, especially in Game 1, could come back to haunt them. That could be in the mind of the referees. Only time will tell there. One of the things also that jumps out looking at the box score, the amount of minutes, Durant 45-plus, LeBron James 45-plus. I know these are young guys, and the season was shortened, but I don't know, 9-point game. Maybe do you think there should have been a little more rest on Kevin Durant to maybe spare him a little more, because this could be a 6 or 7 game series?
Yeah, at this point of the year, I don't think you even think about that. You got to have your best players out there as much as possible. I mean, LeBron played all 48 minutes in Game 6 and Game 7 against the Celtics. I know they were talking about it in the post game last night about, trying to find the right times to give them, a minute or two of rest, and how that puts the onus on some of the guys coming off the bench to really pick up the slack. But, again, at this point of the year, I don't think that matters. I mean, you got to be able to have your guys out there as much as possible. And for a guy like Durant and also Westbrook, who are all of 23, 24 years old, LeBron and Wade a little bit older, but I don't think that matters. And for Miami, I don't know if they're as deep as Oklahoma City.
Right.
And you have guys in Oklahoma City who can go out on the court, and run back and forth, and that's their style, as opposed to Miami's style, who, seems to really don't mind slowing it down and playing that one-on-one. Oklahoma City really, passes the ball around, not the way the Celtics do, but they're able to, get into a set and pass the ball around, where Miami really is dependent on Wade and LeBron to go one-on-one as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this bench, the Heat barely used their bench. I mean, Joe Anthony got 2 minutes. Miller got 10. They basically played with 6 players. And Oklahoma City, one of the bench guys I want to talk about, Derek Fisher, gets 25 minutes, only scored 6 points. But D-Fish, been there, done that, won 5 NBA championships. I don't think the Heat have a Derek Fisher. I mean, who is the closest guy in your eyes to Derek Fisher on the Miami Heat? Again, just look at it. I don't know, Dwayne Wade, because he's been there, but I don't think they have a guy like Derek Fisher, 37 years old, who's won 5 NBA titles.
Well, I mean, they've got Wade, who's been there now, and this is his 3rd finals. LeBron's been to 3 finals as well, and while Battier hasn't been to any until this time, I mean, he's a grizzled veteran and a guy that when you put him out on the court, he knows exactly, what you're going to get out of him. But back to your comment about the 10 minutes that Mike Miller got. If Mike Miller's hitting his shots, and he hasn't, I can't remember the last time he hit a 3. If he's hitting some shots, he's playing more minutes.
Right. Well said there. I mean, Miller in this game, basically, I mean, he didn't take a lot of attempts, only took 2 shots. They're going to need, I think they'll need more from Mike Miller for the.
Well, he's not feeling very confident about his shot. That's why he probably only took 2 and 10.
Right, yeah. It's one of those things when you just keep missing, then it really starts to eat you. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of it, especially when we're all the way here at the NBA Finals. There's not a lot of time left here. Go ahead. I want to introduce now to Raphael, my co-host. Go ahead, Raphael.
Hey, Mitch. How you doing?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, or good afternoon here, but good morning over there. The big thing, I just wanted to follow up on a couple stuff you guys have been talking about, because I've been sitting here listening. A huge thing really with Mike Miller is that the dude is injured. He can't. His back is messed up. His knees are messed up. He can barely. He gets a painkiller at halftime. He gets a painkiller before the game. He's saying that he's going to retire at the end of this year, or he's telling his teammates that let's win so I can retire. So that's just input on that. About Westbrook last night, you mentioned it. You said it best. This is a guy that gets motivated by little things. He's a guy that sometimes doesn't play very well, makes a lot of dumb passes, a lot of dumb plays, but when little things like that happen, little skirmishes, he just starts to play crazy. But I think really that the X factor in the game for really, I guess not for both teams, but for Oklahoma City is just Ibaka and Perkins, because they're two guys who just can defend so well, where, the Heat don't really have that. Haslam is past his prime. You don't really know what you're going to get from him. Joel Anthony, same thing. He's a big body. I still don't really understand why he's on this team. I really just think he's on this team because he'll play for almost nothing. He'll play for free. And this is coming from a Canadian because he's on Team Canada. So I like Joel Anthony because I have to. But, Oklahoma City just dominates them down low. And Ari and I both picked the Heat to win. But, if it continues to be the way it is right now, if game one continues and these big guys down low can dominate defensively and kind of offensively when they want to, Perkins has never been known for a score, especially when he was in Boston. I think.
Well, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to. He has to play defense, and he does. He plays a great job, and same with Serge, I think. And then, people forget about Nick Collison, a guy who's been with this franchise for 10 years, was on the Supersonics before, probably one of the smartest players in the league, best IQ. There's a reason he still has a job with his team. They could have easily waived him, cut him, whatever, and he's still playing good minutes for a guy who also doesn't score that much. So I think the big guys are and then Nazir Muhammad is also on this team, but he's really not playing right now. For a while, he was the center of this team, and then they got Ibaka and Perkins, and since then his minutes have been, he hasn't had any minutes. But if he plays too, they have four big guys. The Heat have none. So.
Well, they have Chris Bosh, and you're talking about injuries. Bosh coming off that abdominal, and played the last couple of games in that series against Boston. He's so much the key for that team, I think, and because he gives them a little bit of size. He can bring Ibaka out to guard him, because he's got such great range, Bosh, that you're going to have to get 40+ minutes out of him too. I don't know if Coach Spoelstra's ready to give him that amount of time, but he's been coming off the bench. I think that's got to end. I think he's got to be able to start the games and play 40+ minutes, just like LeBron, just like Wade, because they're not as deep as Oklahoma City. And let's not forget, guys, I think this thing can change drastically once you go back to Miami. Oklahoma City's the toughest place to play in the NBA. The crowd is so raucous. You got that, that small town mentality. It's what they live for, and they're not going to give an inch. Well, if Miami, let's not forget what was going on last night. Miami led this game by 13 points. They're up by 7 at the half. Give credit to Oklahoma City. They're able to, tie it and pull close right in that third quarter and able to grab the lead right at the end of the period. And then, there were gangbusters after that. But I think they feed so much off of their crowd that even if Miami is unable to pick up a win here in these first two games and is able to go back home, then it's on them to be able to hold court and win those 3 games. That's what makes this 2-3-2 setup so difficult. I hate it. I've always hated it. You're so used to playing 2-2, 1-1-1. All of a sudden, this one series, it's totally opposite. And I don't think there's been a team yet that since they enacted the 2-3-2 that has been able to win all 3 home games on their floor, those middle 3 home games. So it makes it even more imperative for Miami to be able to steal this game on Thursday night. And I think Chris Bosh remains the key for them. LeBron's going to do what he does, whether or not he's hitting shots. Wade's got to hit more than 19 points. I think, when you've got Westbrook and Durant going for a combined 63 points, I guess is what they went for last night, you have to pretty much get the same from Wade and LeBron, and then whatever you get from Bosh is a big-time extra, and that's going to make it important for somebody else from Oklahoma City to be able to put up some points. So, for me, the key is Bosh.
Right, yeah, Bosh is definitely the key. A long-time Raptor, of course. still devastated that he left us in Toronto, but that's okay. It's time to move on. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I think it's going to be very interesting. That abdominal injury, a lot of people don't realize that it's something that is not like, it's not ACL, it's not Tommy John, but it's one of those injuries that you take your time coming back from. And to be frank, he just doesn't have that issue right now. He can't take his time. It's NBA Finals. It's not even first round, second round. It's finals, and he has to play. He has to suck it up. He has to take painkillers. He has to. Yep. He just has to do it. And you're right. I mean, LeBron and Wade have to give in the same amount as Westbrook and Durant, and then what Bosch gives really is probably what Serge will give, what Ibaka will give, what Sapolosha will give. So I mean, it's kind of scary to think about if you're the Heat, because you really don't know what you're going to get from number 4 through 7 guys on the team. You know what you're going to get from 1 and 2. Chris Bosh right now is still kind of a question mark, but after that, Mike Miller can score 12, 15 points. It's not that shocking.
Well, he's a guy that's got to suck it up. Like you said, he's talking about retiring and how much pain he is, and you need to get one of those shots and go out there. I mean, look, that's what Mike Miller's got to do. This is what you play for, is to get to the NBA Finals and have a chance for a ring. And this is Miller's second time at it. I remember him playing pretty well last year, but they need more of that. They need him to be able to hit his outside shot and make him, make himself a guy that Oklahoma City's got to worry about. Right now, they don't have to worry about Mike Miller at all. Mike Miller wants to go and shoot the ball, go right ahead. He can't hit the side of a barn right now.
Yeah, well, honestly, I agree with you, but I even think more with Battier. I mean, that's what this guy was brought in to do, was to make threes and put up points. And it wouldn't shock me if he'd have a 25-point game. He's done it before in his career, but he hasn't done that yet. He hasn't. I mean, he can't score either. So there's a lot of LeBron this, LeBron that, but I mean, there's only so much LeBron can do for his team. Even if you're the best player in the world, you still need other guys to contribute. Michael didn't.
Well, that's debatable.
That's debate. Okay. Well, I'd love to hear your debate on that.
Well, I think the guy he's playing against right now could possibly be the best player in the world.
Okay.
And I think if he wins the title this year and he's the leading scorer in the NBA for 3 straight seasons, I think he's got a pretty good argument.
But what about the fact that he doesn't pass? His assist numbers are down. I mean, LeBron scores, a point less than him in the regular season and has 4 more assists than him. So isn't that more valuable?
Well, again, those are just numbers that you want to talk about. And I mean, we could still debate on whether or not Kobe Bryant's really, truly the best player in the NBA over LeBron or over Durant, even at the age that he's at. But, I look at Durant and what he's been able to do in his short period of time. And again, he's got his cohort in Westbrook, who is the assist guy. That's not necessarily Dwayne Wade's job as being an assist guy. So LeBron carries, LeBron is really, a point forward, and Durant is just the scoring machine, but a great player on both ends of the court. Right now, through only one game, if it would have been vice versa, and LeBron wins that game, I still might argue that Durant's maybe the best player in the world, just, as far as sheer talent and ability to score points. But look, this is what LeBron went to Miami for. LeBron got away from Cleveland and didn't have enough guys there, quote unquote, to go to Miami and team up with his 2 buddies. Well, they've got to be able to deal with the consequences. They lose in the finals for a second year in a row. LeBron's got a lot of explaining to do.
All right. I guess I've been I don't know, I see it differently. They're making the finals 2 years in a row. I think more of the stuff is that LeBron should have made those idiotic comments about we're going to win not 2 championships, not 3. That was just stupid. But I mean, any team would be happy to make the finals for 2 years in a row. Obviously, losing's not the goal, but at the same time, Chris Bosh was injured a lot of the year. Dwayne Wade has played horribly in the playoffs. I mean, he's probably played the worst basketball of his career in this playoffs. Not overall, but in some games he's been absolutely dismal. 5 points, 8 points. games where he just doesn't show up, and where he went down to my argument on this show. I lived in Bloomington, Indiana for a long time. He went down to see his buddy Tom Crean in Bloomington. After that, he started playing a lot better. So something obviously is going on with Dwayne Wade in his personal life or psychologically, because he hasn't played that well these playoffs. And I don't know. I just see LeBron's pretty much had to do everything on his own. Chris Bosh was out. That Pacers team was a very, very good team. I mean, they easily could have been in the Heat. I don't know. I guess I see it differently than you, but that's what sports radio talk is for, to argue.
That's right.
And to have fun. So you're right, though. I mean, if he loses, everyone's going to be on his back. But then at the same time, I don't know. He's 28 years old, 3 NBA Finals, 3 MVPs. I know he's the only guy with 3 MVPs to have not won a final at this point in his career. I think Ari Michael was the same age as him when they won.
Michael won his first title, 28 years old.
Yeah, and I think Wilt Chamberlain was the guy that had to wait, I believe it was 9 years to win his first title, and I think there are a lot of similarities and a lot of comparisons that can be made between, Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron James, and as far as, the accolades that received as individual players, but not winning those championships. When you look at a guy like Kobe, who's got 5, LeBron still waiting for his first, and Wilt had to wait a long time when he was being compared against a guy like Bill Russell, who kept winning championships with the Celtics. So, but LeBron's the guy who made his bet, and he's got to sleep in it.
Right, but at the same, yeah. I mean, but I don't know. The way I think about it, I know you don't make excuses, but I guess I'm about to. I mean, if this team was healthy and playing the way it should have been playing, they signed Battier to make the threes. They signed Miller to be the guy who's a good defender and make the threes. If this team plays the way it was built to play, I don't think anyone can beat them. But they haven't played like that once this season. Not once. I mean, even Game 6 against the Celtics, they didn't play so well as a team. If you look at the stats from that game, it was LeBron's 45 points that won them the game. So if this team is able to put it together, and I don't know if they can this year. It might be too late, and they might have too many injuries. They might have... I mean, who knows? But at the same time, I don't know. Personally, me, I feel bad for LeBron because everyone says, blah, blah, like it's all on him, it's all on him. But you need a team the Thunder team, everyone's playing amazing right now. It's not just Durant.
You keep using the word, and I think that's the key word is team.
Right.
I don't really think the Heat are a great team. I think you've got, 3 individual players and other parts that they try and put together with a lot of one-on-one play, as opposed to a team that they did beat, the Boston Celtics,
right,
who I think as a whole were a better team. They played more together, but when push came to shove, they just couldn't. They couldn't put it all together to beat out those 3 guys. When you look at what those 3 guys did in the fourth quarter, I believe they scored, the last 20 or 30-something points combined for Miami in that game. Boston was just a little bit too old, in the tooth there to be able to finally be able to do what they had to do after, being up 3-2. I look at Oklahoma City, they appear to me to be a better team, and they're young.
Right.
And I think that's something that Miami's got to contend with, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to, in this 7-game series.
And I guess the way I look at it is if they do, then it should be considered an upset. I don't understand why the Thunder are. I mean, in America right now, are the Thunder really, really favored? Because the Heat should not be favored to win this at all. I mean,
well, the Thunder. I would believe the Thunder. The Thunder are the betting favorite. I mean, let's not forget the 3 teams that they beat to get to where they are right now. I mean, they beat 3 championship squads. The Heat did not. You talk about the Lakers, the Mavericks, and the Spurs. You're talking about the last 3 champions or 3 championship-type squads. Certainly the Spurs last one, I think, in 2005. But the team that they had out there, certainly championship quality.
Right.
I don't look at the 3 teams that the Heat beat and compare them to those 2 teams, and they have the home court advantage.
Right, but I don't know. I love to argue. I'm just being devil's advocate here, Mitch. The teams that the Thunder beat, a very, very dysfunctional Lakers team, which no one knew what the hell was going on there. An incredibly old Mavs team that's probably going to be rebuilding this year. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think I just wish LeBron got more credit. It's always about what he didn't do. It's always about he did this wrong. He only had 7 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, the only reason why everyone's saying that is because Durant had, 16. Any NBA player in the world would be happy to have. I guess I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying, and I'm rooting for LeBron just because I want people to, leave him alone. If he just wins this championship and doesn't win another one, I just want him to get his championship because I really like him. A huge argument also that we've made on the show, Ari and I, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, is that, the decision was so criticized, but at the same time, and I've said this a million times on our show,
$3 million went to the Boys and Girls Club.
$3 million went to the Boys and Girls Club. If you could find me one athlete in the NBA who donates that much money a year, I'd love to hear. I mean, that's a lot of money to donate, and I know it's not out of his salary. I know this and that, but at the same time, he could easily pick up the revenue from that money and put it in his bank. So how come no one said it? No one said that. No one on ESPN, no one on Fox.
Yeah, well, they said it at the time, I think. I don't think there was anyone, while I think more so than anything else, it was, just the way he went about what he did, kind of stuck Cleveland's nose in it and rubbed it in the dirt. And then the whole thing the next day in Miami with, not 2, not 3,
right,
not 4. I think if anything sticks out for him, it's that. That's the thing that he's always going to have to deal with because, let's face it, they're never going to win 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I mean, I would worry about 1 at this point,
right?
Yeah,
no, I for sure. It's just, don't you think that was kind of a joke just to pump up the fans? That's how I see it. I don't.
No.
All right. Okay. Interesting. I mean, why not though? Why not? Why do you really think when he was saying that he really believed he was going to win 6 championships?
Absolutely. I think when you're combining forces with the 2 guys that he did, he felt like the sky's the limit. In an organization like Miami that'll spend as much money as they can with a team president like Pat Riley, who's won championships before. I don't think there was any doubt that they were feeling pretty good about themselves. And this season also is a tough barometer with everything that went on. You're talking about the short season and the amount of games that they had to combine to fit in all 66 games over that period of time. These 2 teams still got there. They were still the 2 best teams. They were still, I think, 2 teams that everyone looked at from each conference and said, okay, well, if you're going to pay somebody, who do you think it's going to be? I mean, certainly everybody was picking Miami or maybe Chicago. Let's not forget that. Miami is here because I think in many reasons they never had to go through Chicago with Derrick Rose. Who knows what might have happened if it was Derrick Rose and the Bulls in that Eastern Conference Finals and not the Celtics.
Oh, I'll tell you.
Don't think he would be here right now.
I'll tell you right now, the Bulls, no doubt. You want to talk about a team, definitely the Bulls, because the Bulls are a team. The Bulls are a complete team, in my opinion. They have a good bench. They have good role players. They have Rose, who, when healthy, hasn't really been healthy all year, but when healthy, just won the MVP. He's not an elite player, a top 5 player. He just won the freaking MVP. He's one of the best players. Mm-hmm. And then you add all the pieces around Watson, Crover, Noah, Boozer. I mean, they have so many pieces there. Brewer, who's an underrated guy. So I'm a huge LeBron fan and a huge what he does fan, but I would even say they would destroy them. I mean, the Celtics team, you said they play as a team. At the same time, though, very injured team. I mean, Ray Allen been injured all playoffs. Paul Pierce was getting his knees drained. A very old team, and then they're young guys. I mean, they're nice. Obviously, Rondo is Rondo, nothing away from him. But after that, they don't really have much. I guess Bass and all those guys, but still, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think if the Bulls are in the finals right now.
Well, I mean, take into account that all the things that I'm saying to you right now come from a guy who's a Knicks fan who's waiting for his first championship in, I don't know, almost 40 years. So,
73,
you know,
right.
I don't feel for LeBron. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
All right, Mitch, last question before we let you go. Of course, last night in the ball game, Braves-Yankees. Braves up 4-zip. Alex Rodriguez hits his 23rd career Grand Slam, ties Lou Gehrig. Did you think, perhaps I was reading a little too much in this, but did you think he showed up Johnny Venters a little bit by staring at the ball, or did you think that was just kind of normal, especially considering the circumstances of tying the Iron Horse?
Yeah, I don't think he did anything out of the ordinary. I mean, you know, big hit in a game that they were losing most of the way, and came through in the clutch as he usually has, and you know, I'm sure A-Rod knew that he tied Lou Gehrig with that Grand Slam, but I don't think he showed Johnny Venters up in any way, shape, or form. You know, the Yankees seem to have their way with the Braves over these years, whether, you know, it's been an interleague play or in the two World Series that they've gone up against each other. And, you know, for A-Rod, he's just having some fun with it, but I don't think he showed up Venters at all, no.
Okay. All right, well said. All right, Mitch, we certainly appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun here on Lewis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com, and we'd love to do it with you again in the future.
All right, guys, thanks for having me.
All right,
Thank you,
be well,
Mitch.
Mitch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, Mitch Shapiro, Raphael going back and forth with him a little bit.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, that's what sports radio talk should be all about. Sometimes it's boring when you both agree. I was trying to play some devil's advocate. And, of course, Ari, you know, I think you're pretty much, maybe not as much as like me, but I am the biggest LeBron fan in the world. I've never hated on him ever throughout everything. Even, I still think the not 3, not 4, not 5 comment was a joke. Or not a joke, but he was in front of 20,000 people at a rally, was trying to excite them. I don't know. I think you look at what he's been able to accomplish with, what do you think, Ari, with the horrible, weird Dwayne Wade, not a typical season by Dwayne Wade, injured Chris Bosh all year, not just in the playoffs. I mean, look at the stats right now, all year. And then a Mike Miller who can barely walk. This guy cannot walk. If you watch the game and you look at, let's say when they go to when they go to commercial, look very closely at the Heat bench and what Mike Miller is doing. The dude is crying. This guy is in horrible pain. I mean, I didn't want to say this on the radio with Mitch, but I mean, he is sucking it up. The guy if this guy should not be playing basketball, and the only reason he is you know, who's going to play for him? Who are they going to put in?
He's not that old. He's drafted in 2000. Was the rookie of the year that way?
Not that old.
Terrible draft class, but Mike Miller
back is just destroyed. I mean, he can't move. He's playing great.
He's only
defense.
like 34 years old.
Right.
I wonder. I guess that everyone handles basketball differently and people are treated differently.
Yeah, he could have chronic back issues at 34. I mean, 12 years in the NBA. I think he's been a couple All-Star games. Has been known for being a good, three-point shooter.
Well, I remember when the Magic traded Mike Miller, Tracy McGrady was very upset because they were very close friends.
Right. Yeah, he's also a guy that apparently is very close with everyone on the team. It's kind of funny when you look at him. You wouldn't really think it because he has this long hair. He kind of looks like he wouldn't fit in with all the other guys, but apparently he does. A very likable guy.
Came out of Florida, and his tournament experience before the 2000 draft, 99 draft, was a little down, so it cost him really millions because he was drafted a little bit lower. But ended up winning Rookie of the Year, so showed that, really should have been drafted higher, at least in that part of his career, that phase. All right, take a break and then bring Diana on? Or do you want to stay?
Yeah, hopefully Diana's listening. She knows that we apologize for running a little late, but we had such a good time with Mitch that we'll do that. Diana, if you're listening, we'll be calling you in the next 4 minutes. Sorry.
Yes, about 4 minutes. Once again, check out our store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. This is Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Tuned in to the only all sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamic specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Lewis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Very good show so far. A lot of fun, a lot of energy. I was very tired when I came in, but now I have a lot of passion and excitement.
That's good.
Ready to go. Ready to talk sports with Diana Redmond.
All right, and Diana Redmond, by the way, has her own Facebook page, so you know she's pretty popular. She's about 400 likes, and huge person to have on because representing Israel very well in the soccer world. So it's gonna be a pleasure. We'll dial up in a few moments, and once again, I want to take this time to remind everyone to check out our store by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. A lot of great items there: T-shirts, hats, candlesticks, books, food. All types of great stuff there on the store. Shipping is included in the price. We ship all over the world. So find some great items there and tell your friends about it. And if you don't have any friends, tell your enemies about it. It's a store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
All right, dialing up Diana.
Of course, Israel is involved in the big soccer game, correct?
No.
Oh, no?
No, that's all. No.
All right.
But, hi, am I speaking with Diana?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Diana. You're on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. How are you?
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Doing great.
We are doing great. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I want to start off and talk about the women's national team, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Euro with you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay, so this Saturday we actually have a game against Scotland. It's the qualifying round of the Women's Euro in 2013. And then on Wednesday we have another game against Wales. And the game on Saturday is at 4 Central Eastern Time in Scotland.
Is there...
It should be 2 great games.
Is there any way for anyone to follow it online or to... Where will the final score be posted?
There'll be results on UEFA. I'll definitely put results. I have a page on Facebook, so I'll definitely post photos from field and things for people to follow. Also, it's going to be on Eurosport, so
wow.
People can definitely find it.
Oh, Eurosport, like the channel on TV, Eurosport.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I have Eurosport, so I'm going to tune in. Saturday at what time is it?
Yeah, Saturday the game is at 4 Central Eastern Time. I'm sorry, Central European Time. And then Wednesday the 20th, we play Wales at 7 p.m. Central European Time.
I don't want to sound like an idiot, but does Central European Time mean it's 2 hours behind us or 1 hour?
1 hour.
1 hour. Okay, so that'll be 5 p.m. here. Okay, cool. And how what stage are you guys in qualifying? Is this your first game, your second game? How is it looking for Israel to finally make a Euro in at least the women's sport? I mean, the men's team hasn't been able to do it, but how about the women's?
Well, unfortunately, we're following in the men's footsteps right now.
Okay.
The next few games are really for us to try and grab some points and get to stick that Euro off the scoreboard for us. But we're progressing as a team, and we're really excited for the next few games. And
the next 2 games are going to be. How good are your opposing teams? Do you know their rankings, or do you match up well with them, or what are you going to be expecting? What has your coach been telling you about your opponents?
Well, we've played both teams before, and like a lot of English teams, they're very technical. They're 1 and 2 touch, and the passes are directed to feet. So you're not going to have any players that are going to try and dribble the entire field. They're going to try and draw you to the midfield and then send you their long ball down the flank, or maybe something to the other side. So it's kind of how they play. We just need to be on top of our game this time.
Okay, interesting. And how does it work for training? What have you guys been doing to prepare for this? What kind of mini camps or whatever? I don't know what it's called in soccer, but what have you guys been doing to get ready for this? Because I know you guys all have, your own lives. Some of you are students, some of you have jobs, some of you. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's very difficult. For me, it was a tough 2 months. I just finished actually today. That was my last class for my master's degree.
Oh, mazel tov.
I'm released.
Mazel tov.
But the past month it's been, I get up in the morning to do yoga. I go to class. I go to the gym. Some days we have training. We have a training game once a week. We've been playing a boys team. And we're doing a lot of fitness. One thing with our team is we lose a lot of goals in the last 10 minutes or the last 15 minutes, just fitness. So it's a very simple thing that we can fix, and that's what we've been working on.
Okay, and for the people who don't know out there, how do these women get picked to be on the team? What's the process? Does someone knock on your door and say, "Oh, we want you to join the national team"? How does that exactly work?
Well, up until this year, we have a league. We have a first and second division league. And Israel's pretty small, so, if you hear of a good player, it's going to travel really fast. So you're invited to come practice with the national team. And usually players, it's like in the U.S., you have the under 16, under 17, it continues on until you get to the national team. But now they've started in Israel, there's a national team for the young girls in the north, one in the central, and one in the south. So it really allows a lot more girls to kind of be part of the process and get their skills better. So ultimately, it's really helping the women's sports here.
Oh, yeah, that's exciting. So there's a lot. So they're developing now. I know this is something that the MLS has started doing, is developing youth academies so that you can really and develop your players and get them ready to play at the highest level. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear that the women's team is focusing on that, and kind of tell our listeners your journey to the women's team and to soccer, because it's we've had you on before, but not everyone always is listening to our show, unfortunately. So kind of repeat your journey to Israel and the women's team, please.
Well, I didn't go through the programs here or play at a young age here. I actually grew up in New York, in Queens, and I played for Queens College, and the coach there was Reuben Young. He was previously a captain of the men's national team. And one day he kind of found out I was Jewish, and I said I want to leave New York. I want to travel. I want to play. He brought me to Israel, and the national team brought me. And I started at the national team with at a much later age than people usually do. I think people usually start in the under-16s, and they kind of grow up from there. And I kind of just joined, and as soon as I came, I started with the national team from day one. So it's a much different story.
Right. Yeah. No. It's a unique story. I mean, and in all sports, just because like you said, you have to go through U16, and then you get upgraded to U17. Even the biggest stars in the world, it's very rare. I'm sure David Beckham played in the U18 team before. Everyone kind of works their way up, gets scouted, and all that kind of stuff. And you just kind of, boom, kind of landed here and are now playing for the national team, and that's great. And it's great to have you on. I wanted to ask you a question I was looking forward to asking before the interview. What would it be like for you to go to New York City, Diana, and put on the Israeli national uniform and play against America? I'm sure there'd be a lot of bittersweet feelings there, no?
Yeah, I've thought about it before, and I always think of when would we ever play the U.S.? I mean, it's such an incredible team, and I think in my head, wow, if I could just score a goal against the U.S., it would be like something incredible. But I don't know when we'd ever play them.
Right, that's true. Who knows? Maybe they'll set up a friendly or something. As you mentioned, the USA women's team, they didn't win the World Cup last time. They lost to Japan, but and I was rooting for America, of course, because I have American citizenship. But at the same time, I was happy for Japan because they just went through their earthquake, and it was very sad. So it's good to see. Also, you tell me you're in women's soccer. Isn't it nice to know that now the USA are beatable? There's teams that can beat them out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because for me, I'm saying, wow, Japan beat them. That means that other countries are progressing. That it's not only just the U.S. because they were able to develop first. It's now these other countries are having more women's programs, more support, and you can see other countries are getting better and better. And third world countries will eventually, get better and better. And even Israel, we're getting much better every year. And it's because we're getting more support and we're getting better training. And people are looking for women to be more than just soccer players, be better people, everything, just as a person. So it's really helping women's sports.
And I kind of want to follow up on that. How would you describe the development in women's soccer in Israel just in your time with the team from day one to where you are today?
It's been interesting. It's been a slow start, but you can definitely tell this year organization like Asina is really pushing for the younger girls, which is great. They just started for the older girls a summer league, like a Katrega 5-on-5. Something to do in the summer so that we're not just sitting around waiting for the next season. It keeps us moving, and it keeps the younger girls motivated. Now there's a summer league they can watch, and so little by little, they're really pushing the younger national teams, which is really great to see. And even in I think 2015, they're having the under-19 Women's Euro here in Israel.
Wow.
So it's going to be
really
great for us.
In Israel, like the tournament will be held in Israel.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. And what is your relationship with the 16-year-olds? I mean, or not necessarily your relationship, but just the Israel women's senior team. Do you guys go visit them? Do you guys go watch them to say, oh, look at that 16-year-old, she could be called up in 2 years? I mean, does your team always recruit? Are you guys always looking to add more pieces to be more successful, for the next big tournament, the next year, or something that you can, be in a big stage tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what the IFA is trying to do, is look for younger players and develop them now to kind of have a basis for, the future. So, of course, there's younger girls who are incredible, and, they get called up to practice, maybe one or two. But, it's like a small country that it's really nice that the older girls can be in such close contact with the younger girls and, influence them to work harder. And even the girls can learn really great lessons from the older national team and see that there's potential.
Yeah, and that's great to hear, because it's good to know that, when your generation or your group of players, decide to retire or don't get called up anymore, there'll be another group to, take your place. And this is how things always really build with any program or franchise. You start off slowly, and if you have the right ingredients or the right people around you, you develop. I mean, I don't know if you're an NBA fan. It's a great example of the Thunder. 4 years ago, really one of the worst teams in the NBA at the cellar. They bring in a good general manager. Make the right decisions on who to draft. Obviously, it's a different, situation in soccer, but I'm just trying to think of a comparison or analogy for our listeners, because we've been focusing a lot on this show on the finals, so I just thought I would bring that in. But we have about 3 minutes left, and we want to talk about the Euro with you, because you've been writing about it a lot on your page, on your fan page and Facebook. I know you're a huge fan, and I've been saying all week that tonight is, in my opinion, the game of the tournament in the group stage, and that, of course, the Dutch against Germany. So I want to get your prediction and your thoughts on tonight's game.
I'm so excited for this game, and I get crazy during the show. I'm obsessed, and I'm glued to my television. And this Euro, so far all the teams that I've been rooting for have been losing. So I wish I could say, I am a really big fan of Germany. I think the team this year is really great. So I'm afraid to say, they'll win, because I was really rooting for Holland. I was really rooting for the Czech Republic. I was really rooting for Sweden. And they just,
Right, and of course, Sweden falling to Ukraine, Czech Republic. Czech Republic have they lost twice now? Or no, they won, I think, last night. Or did Czech Republic lost the first game to, there's so many games I'm trying to, in my head. I can't ask my co-host Ari, because he's not going to back me up. But yeah, Czech Republic is led by Peter Cech, one of my favorite goalies. Just signed a 4-year contract extension with Chelsea. So if Chelsea's extending your contract, you're doing something right. And he had that amazing save against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Some people still say it wasn't a save, it was a goal, but I'm going to call it a save. But another game tonight, an important game for Portugal, because really if they lose, they're out. If they lose, they're out. It's not even a question of, maybe. If they lose, they're 0 points. So they played pretty well against Germany. 1-0. I don't know how many people expected that. People thought Germany would kind of beat up on them more.
Yeah.
And of course, then Denmark got kind of the upset of the tournament against the Dutch. So Denmark would be happy with a tie, because then they'll have 4 points. But Portugal would really need to win to stay alive for the third and final game. So do you think Cristiano can finally give us some magic and do something that will, get all the people off his back? Because he hasn't done that well for the national team since he's been on it.
Yeah. It's a much different thing when you play for your national team.
Right.
You're surrounded by different players, and I don't know, we'll see. There's other players on his team that I think can really do something special. Nani is, to me, an incredible player.
Right.
We'll see if Ronaldo can bring something out. I think if Portugal loses, it'll be a really big upset and a really big surprise. But also in the back of my head, a lot of other teams that I thought would win, I didn't, so we'll see.
Right, and you talked about
I'm not placing bets.
Yeah, you talked about that Sweden game, which honestly was awesome, just seeing Shevchenko at such an old age be able to play. I mean, I was rooting for Sweden too because I'm a huge Ibrahimovic fan, and I like the Sweden national team. But at the same time, you just had to love, an old Shevchenko, playing in front of 60,000 people in Ukraine for the Euro, winning a game. A lot of people have called him washed up. I even think there was a joke. My friends in America have been watching the coverage on ESPN and told me that Michael Ballack, the former Germany great, was he's of course doing the coverage now for ESPN, was making fun of Shevchenko for even getting the cap to play. And meanwhile, Shevchenko scores 2 goals, leads a Ukraine team that has really been expecting nothing, and it's been an amazing story. Before we let you go, I want to a little bit more on Euro. England has been destroyed by Germany. They had a tie against France. Not bad.
Yeah, that was a pretty big surprise. Also, I mean, that was a really great game, and it's a tie that was just as surprising as the Spain and Italy, which was another really great game.
Oh man, that's been my favorite game of the tournament so far. I'm also glued to the TV. It's kind of difficult. Sometimes we have shows here that go past 7, and so I've been trying to check everything out on online and get all updates, especially the game yesterday with Greece. And thank God Greece. I've been rooting against Greece and Croatia so hard, of course, because they shattered Israel's dreams of making the Euro. So the way I've seen it is, if you're gonna break my heart, then I'm allowed to root against you, because I actually went to the match with Croatia, and they're a good team, and Greece also is a good team. They've played horrible in this tournament, so I don't know if that makes Israel look good or bad. Who knows? But unfortunately, we have to run because we have our next guest. Diana, good luck this weekend. We'll be watching, and we'll be rooting for you in the national team, and of course, we'll have you on later in the summer, earlier next year, to talk more of women's national soccer team. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, be well, Diana.
All right, that was Diana Redmond from the Israel women's national soccer team. Always fun to talk about someone's career and then talk about a big tournament going on. All right, did you learn any new knowledge from that?
I learned Diana's a nice woman.
She is indeed.
We're going to take a break. On the other side, it's Jim Williams from the Washington Examiner.
Network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed frequent flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Okay, back on Lewis Live. Great show so far. Very, very good stuff with Diana Redmond. We want to thank her for coming on. Really nice woman, as Ari said. And big games tonight, Portugal, Denmark, and Dutch against the German. I'm going to be rooting for the German because I picked the German to win the tournament. And I don't know, I feel bad for the Dutch. Robin has been screwed so far in his career, especially with losing the Champions League in such a heartbreaking way with Bayern Munich, which is from Germany, which is kind of ironic since he's playing Germany. But it'll be very exciting to see what happens in that match tonight, which starts 9:45 Israel time, 2:45 America time. And if you're listening in South Africa, I think 8:45 South African time. So very, very exciting stuff there. Our next guest, 7-time Emmy Award winner and favorite here at Israel Sports Radio, Jim Williams. He's on the road, so we'll be calling him on his cell phone. And I don't think we've ever done that. I've never done that in my time here. Have you, Ari?
No, we haven't. No, not that I can recall. Hate to sound like in court testify, but I'm pretty sure as I can recall,
right.
We haven't called them out of cell.
Right, and very excited to call him. Ari, how are we going to do this? Do you want me to start with Euro? You do basketball? How do you want to do this?
We'll go with the NBA Finals first.
Okay. Ari will start with the NBA Finals, and then I'm going to talk at the end with Jim about the Euro, tonight's matches, and then we'll talk about some other stuff going around the world of sports. And then I'll, of course, ask Jim a question about college basketball because that's how we do it here.
Yeah, and he's expecting it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he knows it's coming. So here's Jim, though. We're dialing him up right now. Very excited to have him on. Then after that, we're going to take him to 7 Eastern, 7 local time, 12 Eastern. Right? And then we're going to have on a special guest from ESPN. I think it's our 15th person from ESPN, so that's a milestone for us here at Lewis Live. MLB insider, Jay Resnick. We're going to figure out how to pronounce that very soon in the next commercial. But we're dialing up Jim. And NBA Finals last night, a lot of interesting stuff with Mitch Shapiro. Good times talking to him, arguing with him. And here's Jim.
Hey, Jim, welcome to Lewis. Hey, Jim, welcome to Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. How you doing out there?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you back on the program. Let's get right into it. The NBA Finals, Game 1 last night in OKC, almost even through 3 quarters, 1 point difference, and then the Thunder take over the fourth quarter, especially Kevin Durant. So the Heat, where do they kind of go from here? I mean, they only really play with 6 guys. We don't see a lot from Mike Miller. We're seeing a lot from anyone else. How can the Heat win with 6 players against this pretty deep Oklahoma City Thunder team?
Well, I think, Ari, what they're going to have to do is just go and study the game tapes. I mean, there are certain things from a defensive standpoint that they didn't do in the second half that they could have made adjustments to. What they're going to have to do is decide who's going to guard Kevin Durant. And what they probably are going to do are rotate LeBron off of Kevin, and they probably will slide D-Wade over there and maybe even Bosh. The big three will try to limit him. But as you brought up, the key is that the Thunder have a very complete team, and they're going to have to come up with some concept of how to play the transition off of the missed shot. The quick rebound, the quick getting rid of the ball. One thing that he did not do last night, and it's possible they can adjust to it, is they didn't get back on defense fast enough. And most of that second half was, as you could tell, relatively open shots or quick, non-contested shots that they were getting because they were much faster on the transition from a missed shot of the Heat, missed shot to transitioning down the court and getting the quick points. So that's how they overcame the 13 points, and that's certainly how they are going to have to adjust and compensate to try to get good. This is a much better and much more complete and much more athletic team than Boston was, and that's going to they're going to challenge the Heat every possible way. But one game does not a series make, right. And so last night we saw them at their best, meaning the Thunder at their best, and we'll see what Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat do to adjust.
Now, one of the things that's brought up earlier in the program, the Thunder have had a tougher road to get here. I mean, the Spurs are a championship caliber team. Miami got pretty lucky with the Derrick Rose injury and have had a softer schedule. So do you think perhaps the Thunder are a little bit better tested going into the NBA Finals because their level of competition's been that much better than Miami's?
Well, yeah, I think that there's no question. The Western Division is a much deeper and tougher division all the way around. So for them to have, lasted through the entire series, there's no question that they played better teams than the Heat did, and they played more complete teams than the Heat did. So, yeah, I would agree with that premise that the Thunder had a tougher way to get to the finals than did the Heat, and so now we'll see who gets their first ring, whether it'll be Kevin Durant or whether it'll be LeBron James.
And, one of the things that we saw in the game last night, Russell Westbrook gets in a little skirmish with Shane Battier. That really seemed to set him off, scored 27 points, almost as many points to LeBron James. Is he going to be emotionally stable? I mean, last night it worked for him, that he was angry and he was able to channel that energy properly. But are you concerned with maybe a blow-up later on in the series where Russell's going to be out of control, maybe picking up, because of course picked up a technical last night, picks up two technicals another time and gets kicked out of the game? What are your thoughts about Russell Westbrook's mental capacity right now?
I think Russell Westbrook will be fine. I think that he understands what's on the line here. I think that that whole Thunder team realizes that if they can, channel themselves and get things done for the next 3 games, they need to win 3 more games. They know that, and I think that the mindset is, from Westbrook all the way down to the, last guy on the team, let's do whatever it takes to beat Miami and win this championship. And I think that they're there to deny, they feel that they're the underdog. They feel that the world thinks that LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh are there to, pick up the trophy, and these guys are there to have their pictures taken next to them. That is not the way it's going to happen, and the Thunder, want to go down, prove to the world that they're just as good, if not better, than the Miami Heat, which they did last night, and so now we'll see if the Heat can adjust.
And one of the things you mentioned, they have to look at the game tape. I think they got to get something a little bit more out of Dwayne Wade. I mean, 19 points, I wouldn't say is bad. The 3 turnovers a little high. It seems something is off with Dwayne Wade. 7 for 19, not the greatest percentage we've seen. What's D. Wade got to do to step up his game?
Well, let's give a little credit to the Thunder. I mean, they did contest a lot of his shots. I think that part of the problem is that when Wade is, working to get the ball to LeBron or to Bosh or whoever's open, he doesn't, sometimes his shot selection has been a little off because he's been in awkward positions. Well, last night he was in awkward positions. He didn't have the straight-on shots that he normally likes to do. I look for Wade. Wade is probably at his best when he plays that game that drives to the hoop and tries to get the foul. And, he'll pick up a lot of his points, as you guys know, are off coming to the basket and getting that foul or getting the and 3. And so I think that that's probably going to be what they're going to do. They're going to try to pick it up a little bit and make him drive to the basket. The problem there is that the front line of the Thunder is pretty stout, and I think I think what he was trying to do was try to play the outside game to see what that worked, see if it opened up the lanes, and the lanes really never opened for him.
Yeah, well said there, and we'll see what happens in Game 2, again, if they can make the adjustment to that. I want to go now to Kendrick Perkins. They made a big deal a few years ago that the Celtics were undefeated with a starting lineup that featured Kendrick Perkins, And in 2009, when they lost to the Magic, they didn't have Kendrick Perkins. He was injured. And then against the Lakers in the finals in 2010, Kendrick Perkins was injured also at the end of the finals. So how much does Kendrick Perkins want to, I don't want to say atone because it wasn't his fault he got injured, but certainly wants to show that he could be an X factor and be a difference between winning an NBA title and not winning an NBA title?
Well, I'm sure he does. I mean, he's sure that he is, but you see, he's reduced to a role player at this point. I think he's a good player, but he needs pieces, parts around him. I don't think that he can beat you. I mean, early in his career, he certainly could. Back in, as you say, in 2008 and during that time, he was a dominant player. I think right now he can give you spurts, but he's not going to give you a ton of minutes. You're not going to put him out there for 35-plus minutes and get quality play.
Okay, and so his job, I think, more also defensively is just to kind of clog out the middle, maybe block some shots if he can, be a defensive presence. Right. At this point. Mm-hmm. Let's also stick with the Thunder. Derek Fisher, he's looking for a 6th NBA title, really quite remarkable, 37 years old. Not scored a lot of points, obviously, he only had 6 yesterday, but that's not really his role. What do you think he's telling the guys on the Thunder? Because outside of Perkins, this is their first trip. So what could Derek Fisher say to them?
Oh, I think he can do a lot. I mean, he's the kind of guy who, explains to people in the locker room what life is like, with a championship. And, when you get these impassioned speeches of what it's like to be, to have that ring, to hold that Larry O'Brien trophy, to be a world champion, then add to that the situation where it's, how cool is it to beat, a team that has the superstars on it and nobody expects us to win. So you have that, us against the world plus his experience at being there and winning titles to say, look, here's how we played, guys. And he can be a very calming and, he can sit down in the huddle and help them out, especially when they get behind or, get down and things are not going their way. He can, inspire them as a, as almost like a second coach on the, both on the floor and off the floor with his, his understanding of the game.
And one of the things we'd like to talk about is the business side of sports. So NBA Finals this time around, we have arguably the 2 best players, Kevin Durant and LeBron James. What do you expect the number to be for this NBA Finals series?
Well, the NBA, both the Eastern and the Western Conference Finals had their highest numbers in the history of of the NBA. So from that standpoint, I would think that there's every reason to believe that we'll probably see the highest number in history for, well, maybe not in history, but certainly rivaling better than any finals we've seen in the last decade at least.
It's ironic because 98, Jordan versus Malone, Jazz Bulls, that was the highest rating finals at the time. And then they went on a lockout last year. I believe it was one of the highest rated series, and then went on a lockout. But this season it seems to be a bit of a rebound for the NBA. 99, it seemed a little dismal, but this time around, I think they recover. I don't know about fully. What more will it take for the NBA to recover from kind of the public relations way they handle the lockout and kind of get the fans trusted 100%?
Well, I think they've got the CBA in place now, so I think that'll help them. So it's just going to take a 6 or 7 game final wouldn't hurt them at all.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, but I think that people are going to. One of the great things we have here is we have an anti-hero. We have a Durant who is a guy who, has pretty much played by the rules, been a quiet guy, signed his max deal with OKC without, much in the way of any, bluster or anything like that, has been the scoring champion, I think, 2 or 3 of the last 4 years. And then you've got, the LeBron, James situation where he is the most polarizing, person in perhaps sports. You either like him or you dislike him. There are very few people who come down, in the middle on this. So I think that when you have Durant, Westbrook, and a great story like small market team like OKC, and they're facing, the big money boys of LeBron, D. Wade and Chris Bosh, it's easy for fans to want to watch it because, in some regards, as much as they rooted for Michael Jordan to win, there's a lot of people watching this one to root to see Kevin Durant win a title before LeBron.
Yes, sir. And Jim, you're on right now with Raphael. Great stuff there.
Hey, Raphael.
How are you doing? It's good to have you on despite being on the road.
Yeah, I'm in the lobby of a hotel.
Okay, well, we appreciate you not canceling the segment, sticking to our commitment every Wednesday.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
All right, Jim. Ari was going to talk to you about that tournament. I'm going to talk to you about the biggest tournament in the world going on right now, and that will be the Euro 2012. Tonight is arguably the biggest match of the group stage. I don't know if you're going to get a chance to watch because you sound like you're doing something important and busy. But Netherlands-Germany, probably, the most anticipated game when the schedule came out a long time ago, and even more anticipated now since Netherlands lost that big match to Denmark. They got to win. Even if they tie, they have to be a good or solid Portugal team. Next, I believe it'd be on Monday or something around that. So it's kind of a must win for the Dutch, and it's against probably the best team in the tournament. So what are your thoughts on tonight's game at 2:45 your time, 9:45 our time?
Well, I think without question that the Germans want to kind of coast a little bit through this stage and win the division, but move to the next level and try to do it without expressing a great deal of energy. So I expect that Germany will, but the opportunity of basically putting the Dutch, for all intents and purposes, not out of the tournament, but certainly in a very bad situation, they would have to win. They would at least have to win 2 games probably to get to that that level. So I'm thinking that the Germans are probably going to put a little extra juice on today and work as hard as they can to knock the Dutch out. Although I do believe at the end of the day that it's either going to be a draw or the Dutch might pull out, say 2-1.
Interesting, and something that I've noticed, Jim, throughout the years in big tournaments, and this was brought to attention of one of my British friends here, is that the 2 best teams in the group tend to tie all the time, and that's unfortunately my friend told me this because he bets. He's a huge bettor, gambler, and he told me that if you notice, the 2 best teams in the group always seem to tie the first time they play each other because they're not really trying to win because the way they see it is that they're the 2 best teams and then they can beat up on the other teams. Obviously, in the last few years, the other teams have gotten better, and in a tournament like the Euro, it's different than in the World Cup, where let's say you have France playing with a team like Honduras. That's obviously, obviously France is favored, but France and England, Ukraine and Sweden are also good teams. But saying all that, France, England 1-1, Spain, Italy 1-1. So a lot of that's going on. So it'll be very interesting to see it, and I think you made a great point. Germany really just wants to advance. Like, it is a very anticipated match, but it's really not about advancing for Germany. It's about, going deep in the tournament. So they'd probably be fine with the point. But I don't know.
Right, David, like it. Yeah, absolutely. There's no urgency on Germany's part. As I said, get to the knockout stage, and hopefully, a German team would want to win the division so that they don't fall into that second category. But if the opportunities are there, if for some reason the Netherlands, makes a mistake and leaves the opportunity there, believe me, they'll put the pedal to the metal down there and try to get that score because they realize what getting the Netherlands out of the tournament would do for their chances. So I agree with you. I mean, if you look at the France game against England, once England got their goal, they pretty much played 9 guys back. It was all, the French had a heck of a time getting through through the defense because everybody played on the second on the back half of the field. So from that standpoint, That's what you're going to see in the first few games, as you say, and I 100% agree with you. Until we get to the knockout round, when you really have to play, full bore, because otherwise, when you lose, you're out.
Right, exactly. And no, it was a great point, Jim. Watching that France-England game, it was kind of just like once England scored, obviously England has had a trillion injuries. Just injuries and controversy are never a good thing in any sport, but in soccer it seems to be even worse than other sports. Hodgson was hired about 6 weeks ago. Coach Redknapp from Tottenham, Harry, was speculated to be the manager for it seems like half a year, and then at the last minute they decided not to take him. But yeah, once England scored, it was kind of like, wow, did that just happen? Because France is a very strong team, and then as you said, they just wanted a tie. They were more than happy with a tie. They wanted to win, obviously 1-0, but still a tie against the French team was a very good thing for the British team. Your
point, Raphael, is great, because what happened is they got in there. They haven't had a lot of time to practice, so their goal is to play as tight as possible and play counterattack. So if you make a mistake, their goal is to basically try to score on counterattacks, but defense first and defense foremost. And you're gonna see a lot of 1-0, 1-1. I mean, that's England's way to advance. England's way to advance is to play defense first. Try to keep you off the score sheet if at all possible. If they can't keep you off the score sheet, keep it low, because they're not going to score a lot of goals. I mean, they don't have a lot of star, strikers on that team. There's not a lot of goal scorers on that team. But there's a lot of good midfielders and a lot of good defenders. So they can, England's road to the knockout round, at least, is to keep the score low and try to keep people off the score sheet. And if they can, take it a 0-0 draw, if they can take it 1-1, if they can take it 1-0, that's what they'll go for.
Right, and of course they will be getting Wayne Rooney back for the third match. I think their goal is, from what I've understood from talking to a lot of British fans and reading a lot of newspapers there, is the goal is to put themselves in a position for in that third match to have a chance to advance, have Rooney kind of come in and really go kind of change their attack or change their strategy and start attacking more and putting Rooney in the position to lead them to the knockout stage. Because with all the injuries and with all the stuff that's been going on this year, going to the knockout stage would be a good thing. I mean, for the first time in a long time, the British media is not overhyping this team. They're not saying that they're so good. They're not saying they're favored to win. They're not saying any of that. So just getting, to the final knockout stages, I think would be a big thing for them. So their next match is on Friday, I believe, and so it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I was talking, Jim, to a couple of my friends in the States who've been watching, of course, the tournament on ESPN, and I wanted to get your thoughts on having, a former legend in Germany, Michael Ballack, on doing broadcasting with Alexi Lalas. It seems to me kind of, I don't know what the best word is, but just, it's been very, I've watched a couple of glimpses on
The Odd Couple,
and there's times where you can tell, and I mean, no disrespect to Alexi, that Michael's just pissed off at what Lalas is saying. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that Alexi said that the Dutch would lose to Denmark. So who knows about that? But can you give your thoughts on those two being put together to broadcast or to do the pregame for the tournament?
Well, I think the fun part of it is that, for instance, when we talked about the British situation where they tied against the French, Alexi was cool with the way they did it. I mean, he said, look, they got a goal and they basically put up a picket fence,
right.
And we're not gonna let you score anymore. We're happy with a 1-1 tie. And Michael said he didn't like it. Ballack said that without question, if you can't play, then you shouldn't be there. And Alexi goes, no, that's not the point. The point is to stay healthy and stay in the game until Rooney gets back. And when Rooney gets back, then then let the chips fall where they may. And so what we find is a very entertaining debate between the two of them. And I think that Michael Ballack is much more obviously of an accomplished player than Alexi was.
Yeah.
But Alexi's insight into the game is good because, to be fair to Alexi, I mean, he's watched a lot of soccer. He's played a lot of soccer on an international level, and so his insights into the game should not be dismissed. And Michael Ballack, of course, has the credentials to prove that he's certainly worthy of listening to what he has to say, certainly as well.
Right, and a lot of the time, it's kind of funny. I've noticed this is all the superstar players that go into broadcasting are the ones that don't do that well, and the ones who were, not even to say Alexi was a bench player because he was a star player, an important player on the '94 World Cup team, and when the World Cup was in America and all that. So I'm not saying that Alexi isn't, shouldn't be respectable. But at the same time, you compare a German soccer star to an American soccer star, and no disrespect to America. But the German soccer star is going to get more hype. This is a guy who's played not only for the German national team, but for some of the best teams in the world. But still, I think it's been interesting. Obviously, I don't get to watch the pregame hoopla here because we get our Israeli guys who just blah 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 blah.
It's very
blah.
entertaining. I'll give him that.
All right.
My good friend Bob Weed does a wonderful job of playing referee in between the two of them.
Right.
It's very good natured. They are very good friends, and I think that's part of it, that they can bust on each other as good friends can bust on each other.
Yeah, no, I think it's good, and I know that in the last few years, there's been more attention from the Americans about, wanting to watch the Euro and wanting to watch the World Cup, where for a while it used to be just the soccer fans would watch it, but now it's like the average American seems to enjoy watching Italy, Spain, and all that kind of stuff. And we've actually...
I will tell you that the first round of the tournament, the first weekend of the tournament, outrated the Stanley Cup Finals.
Interesting. Wow. That's a bit interesting stat. And the Stanley Cup Finals is supposed to be something that even, especially with it being American teams this year, no Canadian teams involved, interesting. And especially two big markets, L.A. metropolitan area is millions, and New York, New Jersey metropolitan area also millions. So, Jim, we can always count on you to give us those kinds of stats. And I think it'll be a very exciting match tonight. I agree with you. I think either the Dutch will win or it will be a tie because I don't know. I just don't really see the Dutch losing and getting out of the tournament this early. I think there needs to be kind of hoopla for that third game. We don't. It's bad for the tournament if the Dutch.
They've got two games they can catch up if they can draw with Germany today and still come out of this as the number 2 team in the field.
Right.
And that's all. At the very worst, that's fine. They can't lose today. That would be a problem. They've got to come up with something on the score sheet. I mean, they cannot come off of this with a clean sheet because that's not going to help them.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, if they do lose today, they obviously they can't. I guess theoretically they can't advance in the third match if really the other teams play poorly and they somehow can advance with 3 points on goal differential. That's really the only way it would happen. They'd have to probably beat Portugal 5-0, and they're definitely a team that's capable of doing it. So we'll see what happens, and we have about 2 minutes left before we're calling Jerry Krasnick. Actually, Jim, I was hoping you could maybe help us out with the pronunciation for that. We're having ESPN MLB insider. I think, is it Jerry Krasnick? Do you know?
Jerry Krasnick.
Jerry Krasnick. Okay, exciting. So we're having him on in 2 minutes. But I want to just kind of recap everything we're saying. And I want to get your, I guess, prediction based off the first, now it's a week plus of the tournament. Who do you think is going to win?
I still think it's Germany's to lose.
Okay.
But don't count out France, and obviously, Spain will. I'll put it this way: whoever beats Spain in the knockout round wins.
Interesting, and you know what? I've been Italy's my team, and everyone's been calling me crazy, and that's fine with that. I'm used to that already. But I like this Italian team. I don't know why. It's very weird. When I watched them play against Spain, the headline in the New York Times the next day was Spain out-duels Italy, but I didn't get that impression at all. Italy had a lot of great attacking attacks, and if Mario Balotelli doesn't play like an idiot, which he does a lot, if he plays the way he should, this is a very dangerous team. What are your thoughts on Italy, Jim?
Well, I think the Italian team is fun,
right?
And the only thing, the good news, bad news situation with Italy is that they're undisciplined. And that's sometimes a good news thing because you don't know what the heck's going to happen. And the bad news is you don't know what's going to happen. So I think that tremendous entertaining situation. And the real galvanizing aspect of this, of course, is what has happened in Italy. They've been embarrassed by, the scandal, and in much regard the same way that the French have been, has had that issues where, the French had such a bad result in South Africa, so they want to come back and they want to show the world that they can play. Much in the same way that the Italians want to say, hey, look, there was scandal, we almost didn't make it here, but you know what, we're here and you're gonna have to deal with us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I don't know. I just, also they had another match fixing scandal there. So they have a lot of pressure against them. And if you look at this team, a lot of players, this is it for them. There's no way they're coming back. Buffon is very, very old and for a long time was considered the best goalkeeper in the world. Pirlo just won the Serie A with Juventus this year, and Pirlo is one of those guys who I love his long hair as long as his play. He's a great player. And then, up front, Balotelli and Cassano, two young guys who have a lot of talent. And Donatelli, of course, came in, and he's a legend in Italy. He's been playing there for years. I think he has 300 goals in the Serie A, and he scored that goal. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a great tournament. It's been a lot of fun, Jim.
Jim, we certainly appreciate your time here on Lewis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com, and we're looking forward to doing it again next week.
Look forward to it, guys. Tell Jerry we said hi. He's a great guy. You're going to enjoy him.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Be well out there, Jim.
Bye, guys.
All right, that was Jim Williams from the Washington Examiner. We're going to stay here, not break for commercial, and go a special bonus segment here.
But yeah, very special. Jerry Krasnick. I thought it was Krasnick. I guess sometimes, Ari, when you look at someone's name, it looks intimidating, but then it's just the way it sounds. Kind of like Jason Blesnick. Interesting.
Right, same type of thing.
Yeah. So Jerry Krasnick, we have two numbers for him. So we're going to dial him up right now. ESPN MLB Insider. I think Ari's going to I'm going to start off, and then Ari will come in at the end. Ari's going to go in the green room and do some stuff for the station. Right, Ari?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. We have 15 minutes to talk with him, so I don't know. Obviously, maybe Ari will start off with the Grand Slam.
Hello.
Hi, Jerry. This is Ari Lewis with Lewis Live and IsraelSportsRadio.com. How you doing out there?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. It's a pleasure to have from ESPN Jerry Krasnick. And let's get into record-tiny moment, excuse me. Alex Rodriguez with his 23rd Grand Slam, tying Lou Gehrig on the list there. What do we do with this record? We know that Alex Rodriguez has taken steroids in the past. Do we still appreciate the achievement of the 23 Grand Slams?
Yeah, I guess you can appreciate it. I mean, I think a lot of these power numbers have been devalued, and there's certainly some bigger ticket accomplishments, namely Barry Bonds' all-time home run record that people tend to look at askance. So, I think it's just a question of your personal beliefs or orientation on it. If you think that the use of performance enhancers has cheapened it, that's certainly your right to do so. We don't see as many of these things as we did, obviously, 10 years ago, in the Wild West days of PED performance. So, but I think Alex Rodriguez as a whole, probably a lot of his accomplishments are going to be looked at as a bit tarnished because of his admission that he used performance enhancers in Texas, and this Grand Slam mark is no different from any of the other home run achievements that he's going to set.
Hi, Jerry. It's Raphael. Thank you for coming on. A lot of good stuff to talk about. I already started off with that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the AL East, my favorite division, being a long-time Blue Jay fan. It's been difficult the last 19 years, but still keeping the faith. And I want to talk about the two big teams in this division, the Yankees, Red Sox. We've asked this question, I think, to every single baseball guest we've had. Was Bobby V the right decision at the end of the day for this Red Sox team?
Well, I was probably in the no camp, I think, to start the season. I just feel like in a market like Boston or New York, I like your guys like Joe Torre or Terry Francona who are going to take potentially inflammatory situations and kind of minimize the damage. When things are rough, those little brush fires, they're going to be quick to put them out. And I think Bobby V is sort of the opposite, personality kind of guy. He seems to be a guy who sometimes likes to almost create controversy. I think he thrives on it, and made me think that maybe he's not the greatest fit for Boston, especially the way some of the things happened early in the year with the Euclid situation and some other things. But just from watching him, I think he's a very, very smart guy, and I think he's probably, he's got the drill there now. I think he's adapted a little bit, sort of like Ozzie Guillen has down in Florida. They got in trouble a little bit early, and I think they're smart enough to say, you know what, if things are going well, then I'll kind of keep my mouth shut, and I'll pick my spots, and I'll criticize umpires if I have to, or that sort of thing. So, I guess in short, I wasn't a big fan of the whole Bobby V Boston marriage at the beginning, but from watching the way he's handled himself, I think he's getting more comfortable, and the arrangement probably will get better as it goes along.
Right, and pretty dismal season, 30-32, 6.5 out. But let's be honest, it could be a lot worse. And something that I've always, I'm not hoping for this because I'm a Blue Jay fan, but taking the Blue Jay fan aside and being in sports, this team could be very dangerous if, and really the key is if Ellsbury can go back healthy, Carl Crawford, no one really knows what's going on with that wrist. I've heard a lot of different things from different people. And John Lackey, of course, out for the year with Tommy John. Bobby Jenks, who was brought in to be like one of those very good relievers, has had back problems. So David Ortiz, is hitting 380, 390. That's back now to a normal 300. So what should we expect going forward with this team? As I mentioned, 30-32, 6.5 out, lost 7 out of their last 10. What do you think we should expect come, let's say, August 15th, September 1st?
Well, I'm just not sure they have the guns in the pitching rotation, and Buchholz has really started to pitch better, and, a lot of it depends on what they're going to get out of Lester and Beckett. That's their big three, and they need those guys to pitch well, because then you can kind of pass around them, and didn't quite work out with Bard in the rotation, and, Felix Dubron is in the rotation. To me, it doesn't stack up with some of the elite teams, and, even when they get back, if they could get back, Crawford or, Ellsbury or whatever, the guys that they have injured, I don't know that they have the pitching to compete with some of these other clubs. That being said, I don't know that anybody else in the division really has a super dominant rotation either. And it might allow them to hang around a while. I just think this addition of the Red Sox with their injuries and some of their deficiencies, I look at them and I think they're probably one of those maybe 86 to 89 win teams, and with 5 playoff spots open, I don't think that's going to quite get it done this year.
Right. You know what? I gotta say this, because when we had Jason Stark on, I kind of battled with him for 5 minutes about my Blue Jays, because I don't get why isn't there more love for our pitching staff? In my opinion, it's one of the best in the majors, but for some reason, or let me rephrase that. It's one of the best talent-wise. Maybe not the talent hasn't fully developed yet, but very young, very. I don't know. Guys like Brandon Morrow, 17 strikeout, 1 hitter last year. Kyle Drabek, who we got from Halladay, Ricky. What do you think of the Blue Jay bullpen? Do you think it can kind of get stronger throughout the year? And what are your thoughts on the bullpen or the starting pitching of the Toronto Blue Jays?
Well, Brandon Morrow is one of these guys who obviously on any given day can be very dominant, as can Romero, as can Drabek. I think they have that ability, but, I look at a team like the Orioles, and they brought up, and the Blue Jays guys have been better than the Orioles guys, but you look at these guys like Brian Mattis or Arrieta or Chris Tillman, that they've been hyping, and, just from talking to people, that's a tough division to kind of nurture a young pitcher. You don't see too many young guys who come into the American League East and kind of burn it up. I think the one exception to that is Tampa, where you have a David Price or a Hellickson or, even Matt Moore this year is struggling a little bit. So, I think that's one of the problems that the Jays have is they don't really have that. I know Romero is sort of their top of the rotation guy, but even he's reasonably young.
Yeah.
The young guys haven't sort of had a couple of veterans to provide cover for them as they grow. I think they've been forced to sort of, carry the team in a really tough division, and you're going to take good lumps. There's a learning curve in that division, and, I think it's to be expected. They've done pretty well, but, to blaze through when you're playing the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Jays and now the Orioles, you're playing these teams close to 80 times a year.
Right.
It's pretty tough. There aren't a lot of breathers like there are in some of the other divisions.
Right. That's a great point. And speaking of the Orioles, it's good to see them succeeding. You got to be happy about it. And before the season start, we've had a lot of guests on from Baltimore area sports radio, and we've always said to them, when exactly are we going to see Adam Jones blossom? When are we going to see Nick Markakis kind of, lead their team? Because these guys have been on the team for six. I think this is their 6th year. Markakis had the monster deal before, and of course Adam Jones just signed it. He's had a great year. If you take out Hamilton, let's say he just got injured for the rest of the year, I think Adam Jones right now, in my opinion, is the AL MVP for what he's been able to do for this club. So can you talk a little bit about why the Orioles have been able to be so successful? 1 game out, 9 games over 500 going into, middle of June, July. That's not bad for this franchise.
Well, I think it's a combination of those things. Like you mentioned, you talk about think about this. Teams are supposed to be strong up the middle. They're contending teams. And you look at the Orioles, and they got Matt Wieters, who you could say, look, he's one of the top, handful of catchers in baseball now. When you look at the defense and offensive side of the ball, he's certainly in the top 6 or 8. Adam Jones is one of the top, along with Granderson and Matt Kemp and, a few other guys. He's one of the top center fielders. And Brian Roberts just came back from a concussion. And, if he plays and J.J. Hardy, I think he had 30 homers last year. That's pretty strong up the middle. You don't see too many teams with 4 guys that good. I think if you go through all 30 teams in baseball, that might be the best up-the-middle group you have. And so, that's a big starting point that's positive. And I think the Buck Showalter influence you can't underestimate.
Right.
He's a guy who really, very professional, gets his guys to play hard. They played hard at the end of the year against Boston to knock them out. And so, there's a real sense of pride there and excitement. And I keep saying they're going to fade. They haven't faded yet. I don't know that they have enough pitching either to get through the season, but they're moving in the right direction. And they got Dylan Bundy in the minor leagues, who might be the best pitcher in the minors, who's probably not too far away. So that's going to be exciting for them, too.
Right, and speaking of another team that's used to losing, really, really used to losing, the Pittsburgh Pirates, who they did this last year, if I remember, around the same time I think they were 4 or 5 games over 500. They were in first place, second place in most of June. Here we go again, 32-28, 1 game out from the Reds. A.J. Burnett has pitched, I don't want to say perfect, but 6-2, 3.61 ERA. He definitely wasn't able to do that for the Yankees. Maybe he likes that he's not in, I feel like there was so much pressure when they acquired him from the Blue Jays on Burnett that he just could never live up to it. So he seems to be doing well with the Pirates. Is this a team that I don't know, can outlast the Reds or outlast the Cardinals to finally make the playoffs and end the losing in Pittsburgh?
No, I don't think they are. I mean, I hate to rain on this parade. I think it's probably sort of similar to last year. Clint Hurdle does a really good job, and I think pitching coach Ray Searage is probably a pretty underrated guy because he gets a lot out of some of these guys too. And James McDonald and as you mentioned, Burnett, and but I think their issue is they don't score any runs. They're really an offensively deprived team, and when you look at the lineup, I mean, you see Andrew McCutchen is an elite all-star caliber guy. And then you have guys like Neil Walker and Pedro Alvarez, homegrown guys who are pretty good players. But you look at the team overall, and I just don't think they have enough guns, and I don't know that they have enough offense. I think a club like the Reds, the Cardinals, even the Brewers probably should be better than them. I think they're probably a third or a fourth place team. They just need to develop more hitters, and unfortunately they have really good pitching not unfortunately, but their guys in the minors, their strength is pitching. So they just don't have enough bats, and I'm not sure how they're going to find them because they're not a team that can go out in free agency, and they certainly don't want to trade away their young prospects to get bats. So I think eventually that lack of offense is going to catch up with them.
Ryan, yeah, as you mentioned, Andrew has had a great year, I think, in the 315, 320 range in average and leading his team in pretty much everything, RBIs, home runs. This question I've been really excited to ask to you because I've been watching a lot of ESPN here in Israel, and this seems to be the hot topic now in the United States, so it's great to ask someone who, is so involved and, really knows you're the insider of ESPN, so this is exciting. Mike Trout versus Bryce Harper. That's the huge argument since Mike Trout's been called up. 10 wins in a row on the road for the Angels. Pujols looks better. I don't know if that has to do with it, but this Angels team's starting to play to potential. I think Mike Trout and Bryce are around the same age. I think Mike Trout's a little older, both 19-20. I think this is very exciting for baseball to have these two guys, one West Coast, one East Coast, on not necessarily the biggest market teams, Anaheim Angels, Washington Nationals. If you were a GM of your own team, Jerry, right now, who would you draft at number one to, say, I want to build my franchise around this guy?
Yeah, honestly, I hate to cop out on this, but I think it's almost like back in the 90s when we saw Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr., it's kind of like, can you go wrong either way? Honestly, I see a little bit more of Harper, and I just love the way Harper plays. I think his power is extraordinary. But I watched Trout the other night, and he had a long home run. His speed is incredible, and, I think he'd probably win some extra points for being able to play center field and cover some ground there. So, honestly, to me, it's a coin flip. They're so close, and the potential for both guys is so great. And they just both seem at home in the big leagues. Nothing seems to faze them. They're the kind of guys who they're called up, and even when they struggle, you get the sense that they're not going back. So, I can live with either guy certainly. My only concern with Harper is he seems to play so hard.
Right.
You almost wonder, it's like, is this kid going to run through a wall or do something and get hurt?
Right.
But his power is just amazing, and. I went and covered a game recently and talked to some of the veteran players on the team, in Washington, and they all love the kid just with the way he absorbs and learns and plays hard every single day. So, again, I hate to sort of skirt your question, but these two guys are both potential superstars and 12 to 15-time All-Stars, I think. So I'm happy with either one of them.
Okay, and it's a good answer. I think anytime anyone's been asked a question, it's a tough question to answer. And for a while, Mike Trout wasn't even in the picture. He seems to, I think he's hitting 500 in June. Just crazy numbers. And, of course, I said you're right now the baseball writer for ESPN Insider. You've worked at a lot of different places, Denver Post, Bloomberg News, covered the Reds in Cincinnati. But I was preparing for the interview. One of the most interesting things that you've done is you've written a book called License to Deal, which is about a guy who left a job as a CEO to become a baseball agent, which I did a lot more research about. Obviously, I want you to talk more about the book and how you got the idea. I mean, it's such a it's such a great, interesting story. It'd be really great to hear how you decided to come up with it.
Well, I have covered baseball for a long time, and I've always been sort of fascinated by the dynamic of agents and players. I think in baseball, the agents have much more influence and, involved in the game in a lot of ways that the average person doesn't really understand or know about. So I tried to, I just thought it would be an interesting book to maybe try to get a guy who was an agent, maybe a smaller agent, not a Scott Boras or somebody that everybody knows, and sort of show people what it's like to do the job through their eyes. And I wound up hooking up with these guys, Matt Sosnick and Paul Cobb out in San Francisco have had an agency for about 10 years now. And Matt's he's Jewish. He's a strong Israel supporter, too. I mean, it's a big cause for him. He's as passionate about that as he is about baseball. And we spoke by phone, and he, I think the thing that sort of appealed to me was he represented a young pitcher named Dontrell Willis at the time, and they were very close. And Dontrell and some of his other players had the agency logo tattooed on their arms, which, I'd never heard of, that kind of loyalty between players and agents. And so I followed Matt around for a year and a half, and he was amazingly open. He allowed me to see every aspect of his agency, good and bad, and sort of the cutthroat aspects of it, and wrote the book actually in 2005, and it's been out since. It wasn't Moneyball-esque. I mean, it didn't sell a ton of copies, but it did, I think, within the baseball community, open some eyes, and I've gotten some good feedback from front office people and other agents about how it presents a side of the game that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, and I mean, with everything going on lately, with the movies about the agents and stuff, it's very interesting to read a story, especially about a guy who left. I mean, it's not even a story about an agent; it's about someone who left, their past life to join a new career. And I was reading up on, just gonna get his name. Matt Sosnick, and he now has a great clientele. I think he has 40 MLB players. So that's great to see that he can make the transition and succeed. A lot of people try and become agents, and it doesn't work out. So that's very exciting. And we're running out of time, so we like to do this on all our shows. We like to get predictions. So we're going to put you on the spot, Jerry, and we're going to have you tell us who's going to win each pennant, and then who we're going to see in the World Series, and who's going to win the 2012 World Series.
Wow. Well, I probably shouldn't change my preseason pick, I guess. And I'm trying to remember my American League pick. I think I picked Texas and Arizona in the World Series.
Wow.
And I loved the Rangers pick for about a month, and now it's not looking quite so great. But, I'll still stick with them. I think they're having a lot of pitching injuries and some other things, but they've been there before, and, Ron Washington's a great manager. So I'm going to go with the Rangers. I think in the National League, Arizona's probably not looking like a great pick anymore. It's a tough call in the National League. Could be Washington, I guess. Maybe even a team like Cincinnati. I think kind of an off-the-wall pick, but they are starting to get some pitching. They got a great player in Joey Votto. Right. Jay Bruce. They got some talented guys and a great reliever in Chapman. So I think the National League's a little bit more of a scramble at this point, but I'll stick with Texas since they were my pick at the start of the season, and I don't see any other dominant teams in the American League, certainly at this point. So I'm going to stay with the Rangers.
I like the Reds pick. Also, Brandon Phillips, a guy who's a great defender and plays hard. And, yeah, of course, Votto and Bruce, and decent starting pitching from the Reds. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And the Rangers, 2 World Series in a row. So I think that's a pretty pretty good pick, and we're going to hold you to it, just so you know that. We put everything down on record here, and we are putting down now on paper that Jerry Krasnick from ESPN is picking the Rangers to win.
Yeah, I picked them in the spring, so it's funny. I mean, the Angels might, for all the talk about the Angels being a disaster and the Rangers running away with it, it's amazing how they're getting closer and closer to each other.
Right.
It seems like it just goes to show that things can really change in the baseball season, and teams that you think are great. I know Jason Stark picked the Tigers, and
right.
anointed them, and he's a little dubious about that pick right now. So things have a changed, and certainly a month or two later.
And we just found out that I just got my report that Brandon Morrow is headed to the DL, so that's bad news for my Jays. Because he was pitching really well, 7.43 3 ERA, leading the team, I think, in wins and in ERA, or maybe Ricky was tied with that. But we'll see what happens. Baseball's a long season, and, we'll see what happens.
All right, Jerry, we got to run, but we certainly appreciate your time here on Louis Live at Israel Sports Radio. We'd love to do it again with you in the future.
Sure, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
All right, Jerry, be well out there. That was ESPN's Jerry Krasnick. We thank him for his time. We've now come to the end of our show. Want to thank everyone who was been on the show today, and thank everyone for listening. Of course, our first guest was Jason Belznick from NBADraftChat.com, breaking down the NBA draft.
Blesnick.
Jason Blesnick,
right.
Yes. Breaking down the NBA draft, and he thinks that it was maybe a little weird that the Hornets got the pick, but that's what it is, even though the NBA holds the team.
Wait, all right, hold on. I want to talk to you, but we have 2 minutes left. The NBA does not own the team anymore, though. So how is it?
They owned the team when they got the first pick, and then they sold it.
No, they sold it before, though.
No, it was NBA owned.
No, because Benson was at the draft there. Benson already owned the team.
That's why it was such a big deal that they gave themselves the pick, because the value of the team went up. That's what was talked about.
No, but I don't. Everyone's been saying, but if Benson already owned the team, then how did they give it away to him? You mean because they owned the team before?
Let's check this out 1 second.
Because Benson was at the draft with his wife.
Yeah, he was there. He was just there because he was about to buy the team, but the sale hadn't been finalized yet.
Oh, I thought that the team. No, it's the owner, Tom Benson.
He owns it now, but the deal hadn't been finalized.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right, I don't know. I don't think that's true, but I'd love to argue. That's what we do. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I wanted to say it earlier, but I was just curious. We can talk about off air later.
Okay, then, of course, Mitch Shapiro was on the program as well. And we thank Mitch for his time. Dinah Redmond from the Israeli national women's soccer team. Jim Williams for the Washington Examiner, 7-time Emmy Award winner. And we capped the show off with ESPN's Jerry Krasnick.
Right, ESPN insider, MLB insider reporter. Writes a lot of stuff. He's a guy that I'm pretty sure you have to pay $2.99 to read.
Yeah, and it came out for free, so it was pretty cool.
Right.
Okay, so stay tuned tomorrow. We're going to be on, we'll have Lori Bronstone tomorrow, much more.
Right, just to add on to that, Mark Serber, Cub Union from ESPN Denver, and Mark Serber from Fox Sports, and another NBA Draft segment since with Joe Kotach from NBA Draft. I think he's an NBA Draft guy, so we'll talk to him. And, good stuff next Tuesday. Again, to remind everyone, please tune in. It's a huge show. Kevin Gilbride of the New York Giants, offensive coordinator, will be joining us, along with Charles Swerke, who's the Chicago Bulls play-by-play. So it's going to be a great show next Tuesday. And I'll let Ari say goodnight.
So stay tuned for some great shows later on next week and tomorrow as well. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.